Sure. Here. Yes.
Here. Also with us, Municipal Clerk Jay McCarthy, Borough Administrator, and our Borough Attorney. This is an official meeting of the governing body, Borough of Bloomingdale, on January 4th, 2012. Public notification of the date, time, and place of this official meeting was faxed and mailed to all local news media and posted in the Bloomingdale Municipal Building. As per State Fire Code, we are overcrowded. I'm required to acknowledge there are two emergency exits, the one which you walk through, one to my left. If there is an emergency, please walk orderly, downstairs, out of the building, and if there are any questions, raise your hand on that matter right now. What I'd like to do before we move to number 5 is go right to number 6, our recognition of our Kids Who Care program. I'd ask the governing body if you would join me on the front of the dais as we present and acknowledge students. How's everyone this evening? Graduations when? Tuesday? No. Gail, how are you? Good. Okay. Each year, this is certainly a great honor and a privilege to recognize all of you that are here tonight. The students from the Walter T. Bergen 8th grade who participate in our Kids Who Care program. The Kids Who Care program was started by one of my favorite people, our rec director, D.L. Galbraith, a number of years ago. And it's just such a great program. You guys certainly make me as the mayor and the governing body very proud of your participation. You help in our public events, you help in school functions, you help in municipal alliance functions, you help all around town. And it's so important at any age, particularly your age, to start and get involved in the community. And that's exactly what you've done. And again, you make us extremely proud doing that. I thank your parents for supporting you in that effort. And again, it's a very special evening for us to present to you a certificate to recognize your service. And what I will be doing is calling each of you. I'll be presenting you with a borough pin, and I guess it's going to be kind of crowded, so we'll gather as you go, and then we'll do a picture at the end, okay? Yep. Everyone will receive a certificate which states the certificate of appreciation for your completion of 22 hours or more of community service for the Bloomingdale Recreation Kids Who Care program from September 2011 to June 2012, presented this 12th day of June by the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, signed by myself, the mayor, and our municipal clerk. And again, we are proud of each and every one of you. So, Councilman, we'll begin with Allison Barker. She's here. Brandon Buck. Brianna Brady. Valerie Chica. Deanna DeMarco. Nick DiPiola. Allison DePike. David Douglas. Sean Ellicott. Brianna Federici. Anasi Gerbes. Thank you. Patrick Haywood. Michaela Higby. Brian Hoff. Notice the tie, Mr. Councilman. Christian Holt.
Some of them may not be here, if I can just get those.
That's fine, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to give that to them at their award ceremony at school.
Okay. Bree Ayurado. Jennifer Kaufman. Congratulations. Mike Kolenko. Sophia Martini. Lauren O'Neill. Tom Ott. Carly Parada. Cole Rinesmith. Kevin Rudy. Karen Ruida. Taylor Rusnak. Nick Sanders. Kelsey Smits. Larissa Spellman. Stephanie Thornton. JT Tampanaro. Kristen Todman. Amanda Wenzel. Did I forget anyone?
Get everybody?
Wonderful. Again, guys, congratulations on your upcoming graduation. Best of luck in high school. Please stay involved in the community. Yale's always recruiting camp counselors for the future. But again, we are very proud of you. Parents, thank you for being here this evening, and thank you for supporting your children. And wish you a great, safe summer. And if we can have one more round of applause for our kids. Yeah, if you go in front of them, can you guys squeeze it? And parents want to take a picture of everyone.
Guys, how about we,
Guys, move this way.
everybody move over, center of the podium, tall in the back, shorter in the front, please. And I'll join you in front, behind somebody.
All right.
all of us. And if the mayor and council can stand too, so you're in the background of the pictures. Let me hide behind you guys. No, it's usually just a head. Right here. Smile, everybody.
All right, head down.
Everybody get a chance?
All right. Yeah, congrats, kids. Thanks for coming tonight. Have fun on Tuesday. Enjoy yourself.
See you
Okay, goodbye.
Not all the way outside, but like. Take care. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Good to see you.
Good job.
Very well. Very well. You know my wife, Jerry, right? Mike, our neighbor, Mike, that's him. Hey, Linda, how are you?
Today I am.
Yeah, usually, yeah, Rich, the guy who does it, the board of ed. Is he Joe?
Yes, he is here.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next, those following along. There was an item from our early executive where we were to go public, but we ran out of time. So before we go to item 5, early public comment, we're asking Police Chief Burrell to come back, and thank you, Chief. Thank you. To speak to discussion in regards to police accreditation for the Morris County JIF grant. The floor is yours.
The reason I'm in front of everybody tonight is to just discuss a grant that we had an opportunity to attain through the Morris County JIF, our insurance company. It's an accreditation program for the police department where our joint insurance company is going to give us a grant of up to $50,000 in order for our police department to attain accreditation. Essentially what that is, an outside authority will come in. They'll assess our police department, they'll assess all our policies, procedures, our management styles, all different levels. They'll come in. This agency will come from the outside. They'll review all our policies, review how we run our police department, and ultimately there are 145 standards that have to be met in order for us to attain accreditation. They would oversee us reaching that goal of those 145 standards that need to be met. The agency that comes in is the State Chiefs Association. They come in, they review your policies, they review everything. There's also a company called the Rogers Group that the insurance company, the JIF insurance company, pays to come in and partner up with us, and they actually will do the day-to-day and the handling of everything that's involved with this process. The benefits of this grant, first and foremost, it will save the town quite a bit on the insurance surcharge. The whole thing, it's a progressive way of policing. It's a way in which will help eliminate lawsuits. You will have policies in place that will hopefully help you attain professionalism, that will eliminate a lot of issues that will now become cut and dry, again, set by these standards. I don't have an exact amount of what we would save on our insurance premium, but I will tell you, I do know towns in Bergen County where there was a 7 to 7.5% decrease in their insurance by attaining this accreditation. Again, it's a great process. It's been battle tested. It's been around a while. The problem is a lot of departments can't afford to go for accreditation, just as we wouldn't be going for it right now if it wasn't for the opportunity to attain this grant. Part of the grant, there is an agreement that would have to be agreed upon by the mayor and council, and there are certain things that have to be met. One of them, we would have to reach this accreditation within a 2-year period, or we would have to repay the monies that were used towards this process. So that's one thing that was involved with this process. Then there's a couple different policies regarding motor vehicle accidents involving police cars, and when an officer is involved in an accident, if they are the cause of the action or at fault, we would have to send them to retraining or driver simulation training at the academy. So there are a couple caveats in there that is beneficial for the insurance company to see us do if we're at fault and things. So that I did provide each of you with a copy of the grant application. Again, it will help us in attaining ways to deploy our manpower, saving money. There's a lot of different parts of this puzzle that I think would be very beneficial to the town. There are different reviews where the public's invited to come in and speak on concerns they have with the police department. It's very community-oriented as far as there will be steps where the community will be involved with this grant and this process. They get to see it a little different. The community gets involved, see how we operate, see how things are involved within the department. And I just think there's no negatives to this at all, other than we need to, in order to apply for this, we need to fulfill our obligations, which would require, again, finishing it within a 2-year period. I spoke to the individual who would be handling the accreditation from our end. It happens that he's a Bloomingdale resident. So realistically, he has a vested interest because he works for the Rogers Group, who will be overseeing this process, and he lives in town, and that's why they would assign him to us. 1, the location. 2, he does have a direct effect, and it does affect him directly living in the town. In speaking with him, he informed me that he feels that we can get the process done within a 1-year time frame. He's seen it take anywhere from 3 years to 10 months is the quickest he's seen done. Based on some of the things that he knows about our police department, how we operate, things that we have in effect right now, he feels that we can attain it within a year. My concern was costs. What would the cost be to the borough? And the feedback I got from him was essentially, we all know what type of times we're in right now economically, and to have to make transformations or change our headquarters or dispatch area or different things that in the past may have been required, they've become a little more lenient on those things. So they have certainly informed me that we would be able to improvise based on the setup that we have here to still reach those goals. Because that was a concern that I had, personally. But again, I was told that that shouldn't be much of a factor at all because they're very good at improvising, and or during these times they know that they have to make it attainable in order to accomplish it.
Do you know now of any potential capital improvements based on you?
I don't know of any right now. We talked about our evidence room, but what we discussed, we were able to work within what we have. It would be a matter of changing a couple things and, again, making it better than it is, but not requiring us to do anything,
The grant being paid for and then ultimately the money savings on the insurance.
Yes. Again, at this point, I don't know of anything that, they're going to require that would be a major issue on our end, because that was the question I asked and the concern I had. And that was the response I got was they're trying to work within the parameters of what you have.
Is training done on our site or is it off-site?
Training is done on site. Again, a lot of things, part of with this program, all our training that we usually go out to the Passaic County Police Academy, and I pay guys overtime for it. We will be getting a DMS program where we'll be able to do that in-house. They'll be able to do it on their shifts. You know, again, it's a matter of different ways on how we can redirect our manpower and save on overtime, and, you know, but the training, all the training would be done within-house.
Is there a specific number of hours per officer?
I don't have an exact number of hours as far as the training goes. I don't have, I'd have to, you know, get back to you on that. I don't have an exact hour, but a lot of, you know, there's so much involved. Our policies, we have probably about 115 policies right now. Essentially, as good as they may be, they will be gone, and we will be setting up an entire set of new policies, new general operating orders, rules and regulations, everything that we just did recently. We put a year's worth of effort into it, and now they will be set up and structured completely different. But these are all things that will be of benefits to the town, because for insurance reasons, we will have clear and concise, you know, guidelines, and we can actually build on them and have something to work on for the future.
Now, if you get immediate approval on this, Rogers Group is ready to go?
What I was told is we're tentatively set up for September 1 if approval is granted. We applied for it last year, and you're seeing more and more departments. I can list a handful of departments locally that actually paid full expense on their own to get it done.
So the sooner we approve, the sooner I sign the contract, we can lock that September start date in.
We can lock that in, yes.
Does anyone else have any questions? Because I'm comfortable asking for, I know it's a work session, but I don't want to delay and lose the 50,000 opportunity. Now, do I need public? Because it wasn't again, I have to open the public comment. Yeah, just to be safe, Chief.
Okay.
You just stay where you are.
Sure.
Because this is not an agenda item, and you know, for open public meetings requirements, I'd like to have a motion to open to public comment.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
If anyone from the public at this time wishes to speak specific to this grant for the police accreditation, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Again, specific to this one item. Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
And now I would like to request a motion to approve the authorization of the contract between Rogers Group LLC and the Borough for the police accreditation for the Morris County JIP grant.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. You? Roll.
Councilmembers Conklin.
Yes.
Demotta.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
Shifley.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Yost.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for staying. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
doing the work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Good night. Okay. Thank you again. Back to item 5, motion to remove matter from the agenda. Is there any action to be taken?
I have comments.
I'm sorry?
I have comments.
Well, the motion is to remove an item.
Okay, then my motion will be to remove item 13A, since this is a work session and it has never been discussed before. I would have said, I really think this agenda looks exactly like a regular session, and we shouldn't have things on here that haven't had a chance to be discussed at a work session.
Well, I'd ask you to leave it there for discussion. It's an income,
Agreed.
a revenue source, so I'd like to discuss it.
You know, action.
Agreed.
Well, again, we'll see after the discussion. It's important. Anything else? Okay. Early public comment. Do I have a motion to open to early public comment?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to an agenda item, please do so. Come up, state your name and address for the record.
I would like to make a motion, seeing that it was advertised that there was a tour of the DPW yard, and a group of us were at the senior center parking lot, and my motion would be to allow anyone who would like to comment on the recycling center to speak at the early public. I think it
I don't
would.
think you need a motion. Everyone's okay with that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Formal motion. So anyone wishing to speak to an agenda item and the recycling center concept, please come up, state your name and address for the record.
Lorraine Weinbrock, 45 Highland Road. Last summer, at the July
26th meeting, I expressed concern about the proposal to locate a recycling center adjacent to the senior center, relating how Passaic County Master Gardeners had worked so hard to turn a veritable wasteland into a beautiful garden. I was assured that it was just a rumor. I left the meeting very pleased with the council because it sounded very much like a promise. In fact, I believe the exact words were, "Don't worry, Mrs. Weinbrock, it's a rumor. I assure you it will never happen." And now I understand that you are considering, that you're measuring and considering doing that. So I was wondering.
Sure. Last year when it was never discussed publicly, but there was rumors about a recycling center in the senior center parking lot. Yourself and some others came to the council meeting and asked that question. And
It wasn't a recycling center.
yes, it was.
No,
I don't know, we never discussed it.
It was the impound yard.
No.
The impound yard.
There was the impound yard, then there was rumors out there of a recycling center. Definitely was. There was the impound yard, which was shot down in early January, February. Then there was rumors of a recycling center. And when Mrs. Weinbrock came here, I stated on the record that there was no plans for a recycling center in the senior center. Don't deny that. Absolutely. That was true when it was stated. Since that time, there has been discussion about a recycling center in Bloomingdale. DPW yard's been looked at, senior center parking lot's been looked at, and those are the things the council is deciding how they will proceed. I just don't know how much information you have about it. I'll tell you what I know about it. The reason it is on the table as a discussion is because, as you know, because it's quite out there in the public, the borough is, for lack of a better word, out of money.
Yes.
And the borough is currently $600,000 over the 2% cap. So it is our job, I feel, as the mayor and the governing body, to seek any and all potential revenue sources that we can. Whether it's from shared services, from concepts like impound yards, recycling centers, development. There's various ways we need to start looking in the future for Bloomingdale. Otherwise, we are heading to a real bad situation.
Yes, I understand.
So the theory is purely revenue driven. The concept of the senior center parking lot over the DPW, some of us up here disagree where it should go, or where it's best suited, let's say. We toured the DPW. I think it was clear there is not sufficient room. It's a safety issue if it was to be open to the public for traffic, as we have the RER contract where there's trucks rolling in and out. We have Pompton Lakes brush, for lack of a better word, contract, vegetative waste contract where there's Pompton Lake trucks going in and out, our DPW trucks going in and out. So to then add residential traffic in there for a recycling center, I don't think would be safest for the borough. The senior center parking lot, again, was looked at this year as an option because it is accessible off an industrial road, First Street. It is already a paved surface, so there would be no investment, minimal investment in having to buy land to do it or pave at DPW yard, which is, again, just not enough room to do that. And the theory was to use 75 foot of the parking lot, which would leave 29 spaces, Councilman, I believe, is the number?
Total of, leave 39 spaces, including the spaces in the front of the building.
Right, would remain if this was to go through. There would be 75 foot off the back of First Street, would be installed an earth berm, trees, fence, so it would not be visible from the senior center parking lot. I personally don't feel it would hinder on the beautiful work the Master Gardeners have done. I'm just being real honest with my personal opinion.
Okay, it really would not be visible.
It would be hidden by a solid fence on an earth mulched berm with planned, again, there's no formal design, but that would be our goal. So yes, it would not be visible from the senior center. And there'd be 39 parking spaces remaining. It's not the entire parking lot, it's 75 feet of the back of the parking lot, which is, I feel, greatly underutilized, that parking lot. Today there was a seniors meeting. I drove by there was 40 people in attendance at the meeting. 15 were Bloomingdale residents, and there was 20 cars in that lot. On a day when there was, guess, the senior meeting, with 40 in attendance. It's all, nothing's ever an easy decision for sure, but it's absolutely a revenue idea that the borough is looking at doing. We anticipate conservatively $60,000 to $100,000 in additional revenue to the borough. Our goal would be taking commingled, separated metals, electronics, what else am I missing? White metal, tires, batteries, and this would all be dumpsters provided by a recycling firm. They would be regularly removed. So I know I'm seeing emails out there about the smell and the bugs and the again, it would be the borough's responsibility to maintain it professionally and as clean as possible. And the goal is to put the money in our pockets, so we're not going to let full bins sit there, again, harming anyone's, harming the environment, harming the seniors, because it would all be removed quite quickly. And these are all the items up for discussion. I'm not going to hide it. I mean, I support it from a revenue standpoint. Unless you or anyone else has other revenue ideas, we're at the point, and I don't want to make this dramatic, but we're at the point now, if we don't start doing things like this, you won't even have a garden to plant because the senior center would be closed, like the rec center will be closed, like all the ancillary things. Our job is to provide basic essential services, and we're getting to the point that's all we're going to be able to provide. So revenue is needed to keep supporting this borough.
Yes, I'm not opposed to the idea of a recycling center.
Right.
I think it's a great idea.
Just don't like the spot.
I'm questioning the location. What about the safety of seniors with all those heavy trucks going in and out?
There'd be an absolute separation from the senior parking lot to this parking lot. The access would be off First Street. It would not be off the driveway on Second Street.
That driveway would not be used at all,
At all.
incoming or outgoing?
Correct.
Okay. I also would be concerned about odor. I don't think residents are very careful about rinsing out their recycling. I would be concerned about that as well.
And I understand the concern. It would be the borough's responsibility if they move forward on this to, again, not allow things to accumulate and stay where it can become an odor problem.
Right. And whose job would that be to oversee this? Do we have personnel that would?
Well, we have our DPW superintendent and we have a recycling coordinator who's ultimately would be their job for the proper DEP filings and all those kind of requirements. The plan would be to open this 6 days a week using what they call summer help, which is just not meeting only in the summer, meeting based on the wage, the minimum wage, $8 an hour, something to that effect. Part-time, seniors looking for extra hours, all part-time, no benefits, no nothing, to be there checking IDs and allowing, proper disposal.
Do we have any proof that we will be making money before we actually spend money doing this?
I'll say the proof we have is, one, based on what we currently do, the minimal drop-off at our yard. Number two, based on other towns in our less than 3 mile vicinity who already do it. And that's what we're basing our projected number on. We've already met with a few recycle companies, and we know the dollar per tonnage we're going to receive on metal. So we're quite confident that, yes, we will be making substantial money.
But we're counting on receiving recyclables from other towns?
Again, our goal would be entering the shared services, still in negotiation, so I can't disclose whom, but there is opportunity. But even if we chose not to, but I'm telling you, if this moved forward, I would choose to do that. Just the borough doing it, opening up to commercial businesses, taking their recyclables, we would see a few tax points in revenue for this. The initial startup cost, which is probably about $21,000, most of it's fencing, earthen work and electric for lighting. The dumpsters, there's no fee because they're provided by the recycle company, are paid for by the current recycling trust fund that we have. The borough currently brings in about $55,000 annually from current recycling, from what we pick up curbside and what we allow people to currently drop off. So that, it would not be coming out of current operating budget to fund the establishment, wherever it may be, of a recycling center.
Before the council votes on this, is it possible that we would have all the information, that in fact that we did have a guarantee that this was going to be a revenue producer?
And how would I produce that guarantee for you?
Well, by having information, by doing the research, by getting information that, yes, other towns are interested, or how much.
We cannot enter into shared service agreements until we have a recycling center. If you were another municipality, would you sign on the dotted line if we didn't even have one yet? Probably not.
You can get a pretty good idea from
that's
other
exactly-
municipalities as to whether they would be interested.
And that's called a negotiation, and that's exactly what we're doing. And that's what the numbers I'm presenting are from.
Right, and you would do that and have some pretty solid information before you voted on it, I hope?
I believe that information is already had.
One other question. I did drive around the DPW the other day, and it seems to me that there is quite a bit of undeveloped property. Why is there not enough room for the center there, since that seems like a more suitable place?
Most of what's undeveloped is wetlands, so we would not be able to put it in many of the areas you may be referring to. I don't know specifically what you're referring to, but most of them are wetlands. Matter of fact, that was a lot of the large reason why the firehouse had to be pushed to where that is, had to be where the DPW building had to lie. Because a lot of that unused land there is wetlands, and you would never be able to do it, or pave and do impervious coverage, which is needed. Again, the DPW yard is high traffic area, with that, which again, not to repeat myself, with the RER, vegetative waste contract, our DPW, it would just be an absolutely unsafe situation for residents to be pulling in and out of there, dropping off recyclables. And there's just no room for it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sonia Brennan, 6 Heather Lane, Bloomingdale, New Jersey. I've been forwarded an email that was sent to you today
Yes,
by Mrs. Tina Califano,
which I
and
responded
I
to.
would like to read hers so that it's in public.
Perfectly fine.
Mayor Dunleavy, I am a Bloomingdale resident. My address is 147 Pine Tree Road. I am a master gardener and have been volunteering time for several years with Sonny Brennan and others at the Senior Citizen Center. We have turned some scruffy lawn areas into a park-like setting with flowers, trees, benches, and other amenities that welcome seniors and others to walk through the gardens or sit and enjoy their beauty. I am saddened and angry to hear that, despite a promise you made last year not to put a recycling facility in the parking lot there, you and council members are making plans to do so. I would like to know why this cannot be put in the DPW area, where it belongs. Having dumpsters and recycled refuse in this parking lot will be a health hazard not only to the seniors who sit outside enjoying the gardens, but also to the stream running through the property. Do you have DEP permission to put the recycling so close to a Class 1 stream? Is there a good reason why this facility cannot be put on the Union Avenue DPW property? What kind of monitoring will there be? People tend to be less than careful about recycling, not rinsing glass and plastic carefully. One can just imagine the smell in the summer, to say nothing of the unsightly dumpsters and the possibility of attracting animals to the area. Have you really considered all of this? It seems to me that a decision that affects the public area of town should be made known to the residents and perhaps put into a referendum and give a few options of where this facility can be located. I am unable to attend the meeting tonight, June 12th, as I am co-chair of our environmental committee and we have our monthly meeting tonight. I urge you to seriously reconsider the location of this facility and to make public exactly what it means to the town and before destroying the beauty and peaceful environment that has been laboriously created around the Senior Citizen Center. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Tina Califano, Master Gardener, Passaic County, Co-Chair, Environmental Committee, Glen Wild Lake. I also want to ask, I know you have answered some of these questions. However, the parking lot now is marked off at 120 feet.
It's marked up at 75, 100, and 125.
Yes. Now, why is the 125?
Councilwomen wanted to see the distances. Administrator mentioned that measurement as a possibility. We met with the recycling vendor, and 75 feet is adequate space for what needs to be done.
Okay. Because at 125 feet, there's only 16 parking spots left. Also, the other day, I don't know when you're visiting the senior center, but there are times that that senior center parking lot is totally full, and there's not one parking space. Will that be able to be addressed with the parking lot behind the municipal building and the fire department? Because some of the seniors can't walk that far.
I can't speak for the firemen, although I can only state that the furthest spot in the senior parking lot is no further than the center of the firemen's parking lot. So the walking part, I don't think is equal distance. So that's I don't think it's a valid argument to say losing the back spots is the distance as far as the spots you're referring to in front of the building. Councilman, I don't know if you can address that. Fire department.
I believe the parking issues in the front to be worked out. The fire department parking lot totally is shared by the borough. We have an agreement with the borough that they are able to use that when needed. We do it on court night, which we don't book anything for court night because the lot is overfull. So the parking in the front is not going to be an issue.
Okay, so now, how much did you say that it was going to take to get it ready? If you do the...
$22,000.
That addresses putting a road in on First Street to get the people down there?
Yes, it'll be gravel road installed, the fencing, there needs to be a concrete pad installed for the cactus cardboard, and the electric.
And then you're also going to move the Goodwill boxes and all that, that's in...
The DPW superintendent mentioned that, yeah, I didn't, instead of having the Goodwill boxes scattered all over town, not really
And
looking very nice in areas.
And you say there's going to be a berm with shrubs and that, so that it's not visible.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah, I know it's a tough situation for those who utilize, especially for you and the Master Gardeners, who've done an outstanding job, an incredible job, and we're not going to diminish that by any means. I'm just being very frank. It's all about the revenue.
Well, I understand that. I've been in this town 50 years, and I understand that totally because my taxes keep going
Absolutely.
up.
Right.
However, when you're trying to elevate an area and then somebody's trying to not elevate it, that's hard because when you put a public garden in, it raises the property value around that garden 10%. That's a known figure.
It's an industrial complex around the garden, though.
Especially in an industrial complex. It raises it even higher. There are figures that substantiate that. So we're concerned.
Yes, and I understand the concern. Everyone prefers DPW. Again, it's been looked at. That entire area is an industrial zone. So it is quite fitting that if it is, I don't even know if it's supported by the governing body to do this, but it is fitting that a recycling center goes in the industrial zone,
Yes,
I feel.
yes. We also are concerned about the pavement there, because when you put dumpsters on, they're heavy, they make the pavement go faster, and they rust and everything else, and we're concerned about that.
But the pavement that may be disturbed, no question about it, is inside the confines of the yard,
Okay.
not the senior parking lot. There'd be no access of any vehicle, there's going to be no access to the yard from the senior center.
All right. I'll hold you to that too,
Absolutely.
Mayor.
Councilman Conklin raised a great point on that exact notion, is that because of the lifting and dropping of dumpsters, we probably should install a second pad to drop the empty dumpster when we lift the full, except so we don't in the same spot.
I
the
agree,
exterior.
because I've had a dumpster in my yard once, and it almost destroyed my pavement. So I'm holding you to
can
everything
hold to
that
everything
you
you
said
said.
tonight.
It'll be pretty, you can see it, and it's gonna make the borough a lot of money. Just if I have the votes to do it.
John, can I just address the smell end of it?
Yeah.
I've been visiting the West Milford Recycling Center because I work up in that area every day. And as early as last Thursday, I was up there, and I like to see their traffic going in and out because it's kind of a comparison of what we want to do. Every time I've been up there, as early as last Thursday, there hasn't been any smell at all. But their dumpsters on a regular basis are being moved in and moved out.
And have you been there during the summer months?
As early as last Thursday when this whole discussion started, so we haven't hit that section yet, but last Thursday was fairly warm, not 100 degrees, obviously. But their dumpsters are moved on a regular basis, so I think when they fill, they go. It's not like they're gonna sit there for a month and start doing that. Because I agree, if it's gonna smell and cause problems, I'm not really in
I'll be
favor
the
of it.
first one here if it does.
So you're working behind the senior center, I think it was last Thursday.
Thank you for your comments. Ted, did you want to add anything? Anyone else? Does anyone else from the public have anything to say, agenda or agenda item or recycling? Yes, sir, please, come up, state your name and address for the record.
The other half of Tina, Herb
Hey, how are
Colorado, 147 Pine Tree Road. I would just like to address the economics of the issue and the transportation that's going to be involved. Best I can tell, gross profit for recyclables of them on the order of $40 a ton. That would be to the recycling people. I would think we would be lucky if we got $10 a ton, which means we would probably need 10,000 tons to get a $100,000 profit. That seems to be a lot of cars coming through this area because I can't imagine even my SUV putting 500 pounds of recyclable in it. Maybe 10, 20. I think that the traffic going into this area is going to be horrendous. I don't even know if Bloomingdale has got 10,000 tons of recyclables.
I don't know where your tonnage, we have contractual tonnage numbers currently with green.
I just looked at the national average. It's easy to Google and say what are the recyclables and what are the profits and what do these companies do and make.
I wish I could go superintendent's here. Remember the numbers? I mean, if we, okay.
I can tell you
I will
that,
find out.
the glass goes for
Getting 75% of the yellow list, the New York yellow list is what they base it on? We get
on the
75%.
yellow side. I can tell you that glass right now is going for really a high, $200 a ton. Aluminum around 180. That's what they sell it for, but the cost of recycling for someone who's in the business is on the order of $150 to $200 a ton. So the profit margin is extremely low. But my real concern is the number of cars that it's going to take to generate 10,000 tons. Where are they?
You're basing that on $10 per ton. We're averaging right now $35 a ton. And
$35 a ton is the gross part, but that means our recyclable person is going to give us the whole $35 a ton profit.
On co-mingled, we're getting, Mark, you were there when Al discussed the numbers. I'll give you numbers you presented. They're substantially more than averaging $10 a ton, substantial.
Oh, let's go for $40 a ton. Let's say we're really going to do a super job. We'll get $40 a ton. So we only need 2,500 tons of coming through. You know how many cars that is with how many pounds do you put into your car when you come into a recycler? 10 pounds? 20 pounds? Do you know that what a garbage can, a 30-gallon garbage can of aluminum, how much that weighs? It's 5 pounds. Thought? You know how many cars we have to run through this area? And we're going to say, gee, we want 10,000 tons of this stuff? We're going to invite all the other municipals to come in and support this? It's the wrong location. I laud you for going out and trying to make money for Bloomingdale. I think that's wonderful. But to put it on this site without consideration for the traffic flows, for the number of cars coming through here, I think that's where we kind of fall short. We have some better locations Maybe Union, maybe not. But it doesn't look like it is going to be an acceptable amount of traffic coming through. It's just a huge number of cars.
Location is the issue, and Union will not work. DPW
Well, I know you say will not work. Will not work is a gross statement. So there need to be specifics as to why, and they need to be addressed. It's a wetlands. You've got a class 1 trout stream within 100 feet of this thing. That's a wetlands. That's critical wetlands. In fact, for water quality with DEP, that's going to be a super issue. I'm sure I'll raise it with them.
Then why would we have a parking lot where oil drips off a parking lot? And they've had cars there, they just said they'd fill the parking lot, sir.
Yes, because we happen to be in a grandfathered location. It was there first, but DEP is a lot stronger today.
Okay, so you don't think that a commercial parking lot off a commercial industrial zone off a main road is a good location for a recycling yard?
Oh, I think it would be great if we didn't have to put, how many cars are going to come through this area? That's the issue. I mean, yeah, it's a municipal area. Yeah, it's an industrial site in the middle of our town. Maybe it shouldn't be.
I'm confused. Where would you put this?
Ah, that's a different issue. If I were up there, I may have an answer, but I'm not up there.
Okay, the investigation that's been done thus far, and obviously council members will voice their opinion, but I can clearly tell you, based on the current usage of the DPWR and our constraints for wetlands, there is no additional room to add this scale to our current DPW. It's regrettable that the borough does not own more property that would be used, and it would be really nice if we had a facility to do this. But as I explained to one person, we don't start to find some revenue in this town. Our secondary functions that support this town are going to close. There'd be no money for that, because we're going to get into the essential functions of how we operate this town. And it won't be recycled, it won't be senior centers or rec or other places.
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the traffic flow, the number of cars that are going to be required to develop the amount of tonnage you need to make $100,000. That's the real issue. It's a huge number of cars. You just don't, I mean, I'm all for recycling. I think it's great. I'm all for making money. I think recycling is a wonderful thing. The traffic flow and the number of cars that are here is going to be absolutely horrendous.
If we only made $25,000, would you be happier? If we said that we're only going to make $25,000.
I'm happy for every nickel you guys can make.
Exactly. So if it's not that tonnage, if it's less, if it's a quarter of what you're talking about, we'll take it. We need it.
I know you need it, but it's the wrong location. There has got to be a better site.
The location is going to be closed. It's not going to be a senior center if we don't start doing these things. It's going to be a shut down parking lot, nothing there. No gardens, no seniors, nothing. Zero. We have to start bringing in money. People aren't getting it. Would you be okay paying an extra $25 per year so you don't have to have that? Convince the rest of the public to pay an extra $25 a year, then we don't have to have that.
I don't have a problem with $25 when I consider what the traffic issue is going to be on this road and through this area.
So
that's what you have to worry about.
So you talk about the traffic area, okay? You talk about traffic area, you want to put it on Union Ave. You got 172 apartments going on Avalon Bay, and you have an approval for another 455 on Federal Hill. Now you want to talk about traffic. You think, and 287
You want to change the subject? We're just working on
no, you brought up traffic. Yeah. Intersecting off of 287 to Hamburg Turnpike. Did you ever see the traffic? You live in, where do you live? You live in Glenwell Lake, don't you?
I do.
Okay, you do. I live in Morse Lakes, and I know what it's like to pull out on Union Ave.
I go through that way all the time. That's my favorite way out.
Okay.
But I
try that 7:30.
But what are you going to do? You're going to need 10,000 tons of recyclables.
Are we on track?
Over a year period? Do you know how many cars per day is that coming through? At, let's say, $10, 10 pounds a car, 20 pounds a car for recycling. It's horrendous.
You're averaging at $10 a ton. Our money on nickel metal and white metal is so much more than what you just stated at $10. And if I have your email.
Your gross profit, your gross number may be, but not your net.
On white metal?
Oh, on white metal is what right now, $180 a ton?
That's right. So
It's 180, it's 180 ton, but what's the cost of collecting? What's the,
Zero, you're bringing it to us.
oh, and it's just a freebie for the distribution of it?
Sir, I work in construction. I bring hot water heaters, I bring boilers, I bring all that as metal.
I want
For
to.
nothing. That's right, and you're getting it. And you're getting it. That's free. And I'm delivering it.
Commercial, I'll open it to other
That's
municipalities.
100% profit.
If I can get a municipality who's closer than having to bring it to Jersey City, where they do now, driving it down, to bring it here, you know, these are things we want to look at. Again, I have your email, so I will tomorrow email you the tonnage we're currently getting on each category.
That would be super.
Cardboard,
And I'll calculate out how many cars are gonna come through here to go through that.
perfectly fine. Assuming it's just residential people doing it. You could have a municipality bring us a full tandem dump with one run. So you don't just divide it by 10,000 single cars with one garbage can. Cans in it.
Do you know
Don't
about
know
those
that.
traffic reviews, which is a very critical problem?
Again, it is a critical problem. Can I sit here and say there'll be no traffic? Can I sit here and agree with you that's going to be horrendous? No, I can't do either. I said from the beginning, it's 100% about the revenue. You find me another way for revenue.
Find the right
Find another
location.
Again, I don't know what point you walked in the meeting, but we've explained that. The borough's in no position to buy property to do this. The borough's in no position, again, the DPW yard. We have a shared service with we do RER, recycling, works out of our yard. Compton Lakes, vegetative waste trucks running in and out of there, our DPW trucks. You can't have the citizens driving in and out of that yard 6 days a week dropping recyclables.
And so you're going to take all that traffic, you're going to move it through this location.
No, you missed what I said.
I missed that logic.
No, you misunderstood what I said. The DPW traffic that exists today, which is not going to change tomorrow or when the recycling center opens, is tandems of trucks going in and out with mold from topsoil.
I've been through there, I know.
Right. So
It's not much.
That's not much, but where you get 10,000 cars, I can't.
So you're not going to bring all those cars through here. And then you're going to have to take large trucks, dumpster carry capability, and take the stuff out of here. And it's on the order of 10,000 tons. I presume the 100,000 was per year?
Correct.
That's a lot of trucks. That's a lot of stuff coming in and out of here.
It's a lot of revenue for the borough, so that's.
I love the revenue, it's the wrong location. I think it's a great concept.
And you've
You
stated
got to
that.
work on the right spot. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak to an agenda item or this item?
Ryan Spellman, 103 Natalie Court. What, does this eliminate curbside pickup then?
No.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
Now, the different elevations between First and Second Street, how do you have like lawns on this or anything? Or you have to excavate that all out of there?
The road will be installed, minimal excavation to get to the back entrance.
To bring it down into it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Geraldine DeLazier, 20 Conwell. Is it right that they're going to have a compactor there?
For cardboard, yes.
Oh, just cardboard?
Just cardboard.
Is that noisy?
No. So,
We heard it at Pumpkin Lakes when we were there. Only when they operated.
does it make noise? Yes. Is it noisy? No.
It's not the fire whistle.
All right, we'll come back at 6:45. So you know here. That's just for cardboard though, for space. It's not like space.
Now, the price of used metal and so on is high now, but will that drop.
Yes, but the contract we enter into has minimums. You know, there's so much per ton, and then there's varying minimums. $50 a ton was in some categories. So there are minimums set that we would get. But yeah, it could fluctuate. Sure, that's why. Changes every day.
Well, I just don't like it there, where you want to put it, like everybody else. Okay?
Even though we're on the topic of recycling, but again, we need to increase it overall in town because we already make about 60 grand for what we curbside pick up. You know, minus the labor and delivering and where we have to bring it, et cetera. If we were to go to clear bags in town, then I think it would increase our volume to even increase these numbers more so. So I don't know if residents would object to that, but if we actually mandated clear garbage bags, there's a lot of people cheating who I think would no longer be able to cheat, and all these numbers would even higher. The DPW would leave it at the curb.
Will you be collecting glass?
Yeah, we're still
besides-
going to collect, yeah.
But then who's going to drop it off if you're going to collect?
Again, there are, I mean, I can't tell you who, but from towns who pick up curbside and have similar operations, people are regularly, we already have it. Saturdays, people can go today and drop their paper if they missed to put it out. We get some good traffic down there on a Saturday. So we're still offering curbside, but there will still be residents who can't wait for 2 weeks for their metal pickup, want to drop it off. And if the plan is to enter into shared services, you know, we take that up too.
I've been at the Lincoln Park recycling, and that was beautiful almost. They had flowers,
Right.
but it was out of the way.
Right. I understand
And
location
that's
is a
not
big
a
issue
place
for
like
everyone. I just wish we had that perfect location.
Then you should get into some other business if this doesn't work.
Have a car in town, no.
So we did, the ordinance review committee did explore the clear bags 2 years
Good,
ago.
did you? Yeah, yeah.
We did, and I don't know the details, but it was.
It doesn't matter, we, you know,
Maybe to bring it back.
I don't know why we rejected it. The residents have to buy bags for their garbage anyway. We were just passing the ordinance, they have to buy clear ones now. I wouldn't provide them. I go to Home Depot, instead of buying the box of leaf lawn, I buy the clear
It's time
one.
to bring that up.
I think it is time to bring that up. And again, I think it'll just increase our weight, because there's absolute revenue in recycling. A lot of revenue in recycling. That's what our focus has to be. And Councilman Yazdi's not making light of the situation, and it's extremely serious, the financial situation of this borough. We're limited to 2% cap, as we all know, where the only option is, and I've always stated publicly that I feel expenses are not our problem, revenues are our problem. And these are cures that we can get fixed. Otherwise, we're going to lose except for the essential services we must provide, we'll lose a lot of services if we don't start focusing on these kind of revenue items. Anyone else on an agenda item or this topic?
Jack Miller, Revap. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. I'm going to talk about spending money. Item K here that we have in the, as I don't want to steal
I'm
anybody's,
sorry, item
What's the number?
I think it's 14.
updating on pending projects?
Pending project?
Correct.
All right. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but as the chairman of the flood committee, I met with Mr. Domofosky today.
Right.
And the contractor that's going to do our de-snagging.
Correct.
Okay? The contractor's going to start on July 9th. All right? From what I'm understanding, he's going to start at Grant Lane, and he's going to work his way back towards Van Dam.
Okay.
All right? Also with that, he's going to do some cleanup on Quantic behind the church. There's some trees that are down that's got to get cleared out of there.
Right.
Okay, he's going to take care of that. He's also going to start on or about the 9th. He's going to put that piece of pipe in Poplar Street. All right? So, also, he met with the DEP yesterday. He's got good news that they're very receptive to what we're doing with Sloan Park and the Gavin walls. Okay? Problem is now permitted. It's going to take 3 months. To apply, it's going to take that long. So, talking the end of the year.
Well, no,
No.
it was always See, a class 1 waterway, minimum 3 months. We knew that from the beginning.
No, we put in for the permits.
No, he was in the process of, just got his meeting yesterday. But I don't know if he told you about, because it's a trout-producing waterway,
March 15th.
work cannot begin until March 15th.
I got you. Right, I know that.
So, what?
2013.
So even if we had begun the process in February, we still would not have been able to begun until March of 2013. You can't
Just because of C1
from
waterway.
May through the end of the year, you can't touch the water. But to your point, I met with the engineer this morning, and did he show you the map of the
Yes.
Home Park project?
Yep.
It's pretty neat what they're letting us do.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so,
Absolutely. And I'll bring that back to our committee. I'll shoot out an email of all this stuff that he said, with the trough going through the middle,
Yeah.
I showed him all that stuff. So, it's all good news.
right, and they're allowing us to take out the center abutment on the bridge, which they weren't originally. So-
Also, he's applying for the permit for Van Dam that's been there for 6 or 7
For the
years.
failed culvert.
Right.
Sidewalk.
That's the one.
Right,
Right.
yep, correct. All right,
And then I had some emails from residents, I'm hoping to, I don't recall the gentleman's name, to read with him about some of these issues which I since feel are resolved from meeting with our engineer today. But one was the appearance of a gabion wall. It's not natural and all that, but the theory is, and the DEP requires it, is plantings within the gabion wall, which the Quantic River is going to help us with. Proper planting, which has to be approved by the DEP, which would ultimately hide the appearance of a gabion wall.
yeah, what he said to me today was, in a few years, you won't even know that there's a wall there.
Correct.
Because there'll be stuff growing out of it, so you won't even see it.
Underneath 287, Quantic River is what gave you a wall, but nobody knows.
No.
Right, and you won't. But like I said, fortunately, everything's moving forward.
Yes.
Next time,
It does.
it's moving forward.
I
I get disgusted, but
It's very frustrating, especially when I said it to the engineer. I said, there's no wiggle room on the DEP in this March date because that'll be our next flood season. And if we don't have a mild winter like we've had, we have to pray for another mild one because if we have another bad spring or heavy snow winter followed by a thaw, we're going to flood again. If they let us do it now, we can avoid that, but they won't. It's just amazing.
and of course,
You don't have to worry about frost so much by rivers like you do.
No, I meant if we get 30 inches of snow and that melts plus the rain, that's when.
Oh, yeah, then you can't bring a machine.
then I'll be back up here banging on the table because we've got flooded again. We'll go through the whole thing again.
No, what I meant was, because of the rules, we can't fix it until after the potentially next flood
Right,
season.
I got you.
So,
Yeah, I thought it was going to be before, but you can't do anything until after March 15th. So what?
well, I'm on record saying we were going to start building in September until the DEP said we can't, which was just found out yesterday.
Just because of that C1 waterway.
Correct.
Not that we can't do anything on this other stuff.
No, that's
You
beginning.
know, and we're going to
That's
start.
amazing that you can't start until March 15th.
Yeah.
When trout
Trout
season
season
don't start
starts
the first week in
Because
in
they're
April.
done doing
You
it.
think they'll do late fall
They're not really-
after the fall stuff?
I don't know the reason.
I would think now would be the time.
Yeah.
And rainbows are raining.
I don't know.
So-
Like I said, I didn't want to take anybody's time.
No,
I felt
glad
bad.
you reported
Come
that.
up-
It's good.
Come up and do that.
I appreciate that, Jeff, very much. Thank you. Anyone else, agenda or recycling? Yes,
Can I add something to that?
just you need to state your name and address for the record again. I know, it's the rules.
Sullivan Brennan, 6 Heather Lane, Bloomingdale. Has the town ever addressed maybe putting some rain gardens on the properties that get flooded on Reeve Avenue? There are grants from Passaic County that will do that.
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm not, where were you talking about, by the river, or?
Reeve Avenue, it's the homes there.
The lower
Yes.
portion.
Yes. Passaic County had the environmental group that,
Open space?
yes, the open space, they have grants that will put a rain garden in some of those locations. You'd have to get the permission from the homeowner, I'm sure, but it is something to look into.
And what if the rain garden does what exactly?
It filters the water so that it doesn't flood the home.
What is it, just a pipe?
No, they plant certain plants and everything, and
There's a pipe over
they,
there.
no, that's not what it is. But you should look into it, and you should talk to Amy Rowe.
We could look the
Yes.
flooding though on Reeve and all the side streets there, it's not from rainwater, it's from the river exceeding its banks.
Yes,
Gushing
yes,
through
but
the
that
water
would
down.
help, that would help.
Sure, it may help.
That would
It's too much
help.
water gushing down the
And
road.
since there are grants out there that would do it,
No, I appreciate the information.
Okay.
I'll absolutely look into it. Thank you. Anyone else, public comment, agenda item, or recycling?
Linda Huntley, 86 Van Dam. I just want to know the status of the budget.
Status of the budget? I will defer to the budget committee.
Yeah, the budget committee has been meeting. We did meet with our auditor, and he has come up with a list of, laundry list of, potential for coming up with the shortfall. And some of it is not very popular, including raising some fees and things of that sort that we obviously wouldn't want to do. A lot of it is held up on where Avalon Bay comes in. So we're hopeful that Avalon Bay comes in and bails us out of this.
What if they don't? There's a
And
number
if
of
we
items
don't,
that can't
then-
be cut from the budget.
Right, and we have to then go to Plan B, which may include some of the less popular things that we may have to get done. But at this point, we're still hopeful that
You have an emergency appropriation on the budget, on the agenda, and the emergency appropriation, what do you consider, what is the budget that you're using to determine the emergency appropriations?
it's the introduced budget.
It's last year's budget,
It's last year's budget.
which has to be cut in order to make this year's budget. So aren't you using too much money already in the emergency
Cut
appropriation?
or revenues, right?
Excuse me?
Cut or sources of revenues, which we have a Plan B for these sources of
And
revenue.
what if that doesn't happen? What if Avalon Bay doesn't get signed? What are you going to do?
No, I said Plan B. So Plan A being Avalon Bay,
Mhm.
Plan B would be other things that we may be forced into doing.
And when are you going to make this determination?
How close are we to knowing about Avalon Bay?
Within the next 2 weeks.
So the budget will be introduced by the end of June.
It is introduced
It'll
already.
be finalized.
Finalized,
Highly unlikely.
highly unlikely as far as end of June, but
So the last year was a bad, you didn't do until the end of June, but I guess it's different years, so you can do that, but yeah.
Well, we have zero surplus and a $600,000 shortfall. Might
But
have to
it's
read the rest of
still
it.
$50,000 that you used last year, in this year's budget, so I mean, well, you keep doing it.
Thank you for your comments.
You're very welcome.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak to an agenda item or recycling?
Richard Del Ripa, 159 Pine Tree Road. I just had a delivery for you since this is relating to 14K, the Sloan Park playground. This resolution was just passed by the Board of Education, recommending the lease agreement we have. About the playground in the area we discussed. So as far as that's concerned, we're on.
Okay, wonderful. All right, we'll discuss it when we get there. I'll ask for action, but it's a work session. So, thank you very much.
Well, I just want to let you know we hadn't received it.
That was this evening.
I'm sorry.
That was this evening, you guys just...
Yes, just did.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing an agenda item or recycling? Seeing, yeah, seeing no one, motion to close public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You want to wait till your counselor? All in favor?
I just want to talk about what these people have said about the recycling center. Like, you want me to wait till then?
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
I just want everyone to understand that, first of all, we put a lot of effort into exploring this revenue for a recycling center. Mr. Ehrenberg has done a lot of work. Mr. Gallagher took a group of us through the DPW yard. We met over here. I went by myself to the West Milford, and we went over to the Pumpkin Lakes yard. There is no doubt that a recycling center would benefit our town. It would make us money, and it certainly, hopefully, would increase recycling. I have the same concerns the rest of you do. It's the location of where this center is. I'm really not done exploring the DPW yard. I have asked Mr. Hagberg for the site plan of the DPW yard, and when I was there, We noticed that there's a hill to the right of the building, that with an old building and a house, we're told that that is vacant and could be destroyed, I imagine. We might be able to utilize by sighting equipment in a different manner than we are right now. We have the pistol range there, which is only used twice a year. It's not a huge piece, but it might be able to be made available. Perhaps we should find a shared service with another town that would allow us to use their facility. It's only used twice a year, I'm told. So I really would still like to pursue the DPW yard and set all those concerns to rest. Once this is sited on this parking lot and problems develop, it's going to be there. And I'd just like to be very sure that before we do anything, we get everything answered. All the cost questions and all the traffic questions. I mean, you go to these other facilities and they are very well run. I did find out that the aluminum and commingle don't produce a lot of smell. It's basically grass that produces the odor. We will not have grass. And I just think recycling is a wise thing. We should do it. But I want to be terribly convinced that it would work next to a senior center, next to a river. That particular area, even though it seems like a commercial area, really isn't. I know I usually go to the recycling center with my papers during the week. I don't find it difficult or crowded or full of traffic. So I think what we have to do is really answer all the questions before we make a move on this. And I'll wait until I get the site plan and see what can be done. But I do thank all the work that's been done by Al and Ted. They've done a lot of work answering our questions and concerns so far.
Well, I just hope all your questions are answered. I will ask that at our next regular meeting, June 26th, we take action on the site. The longer we wait, the more money we are losing. Your DPW concept, again, I appreciate it, I understand it, but you're ignoring the fact about the existing traffic in and out of there. Furthermore, we need to minimize our capital outlay to start this. We're already at 21,000 using an already macadam facility. To remove a building, move a hill, pave DPW, you can now increase your capital to 50,000, 60,000 to make it
All
proper.
the other centers aren't paved. Compton Lakes and West Milford are not paved.
Maybe your idea would be much more increased capital outlay, but I don't think the room
I'd
is
rather
there.
have it appropriately sited for the best use of that property. I do realize, after seeing the property, that there might be a way of just changing the configuration of how it's used. But maybe we can't. I have to see.
All right.
I was also with Councilwoman Sherman, and I agree with her. I think we should look at the DPW further, move things around, just like she said, and try to stay away from the senior center, because if someday we ever have a river walk, we need parking for them to be able to do it. And I think that should be also in consideration. I agree with her. I would love to see it done for the DPW.
John, what was your comment about Jersey City? If people could rather bring it here than take the truck to Jersey City? I thought this was just for residents.
Shared service, I'll take anyone's recycling.
But I thought it was just cars, not trucks, bringing things
If we
here.
can enter shared service to get all the town's white metal delivered to us by their DPW dump truck, I'll take it.
But they wouldn't be bringing their commingled or their newspapers,
These are
trucks?
things you have to be negotiating.
No, I just thought, I was told it was just, cars would be coming in. When we were at Compton Lakes, it seemed to work really well. There were 3 or 4 people who came when we were there in the middle of the week. But I didn't realize that.
Compton, that's curbside. As well.
Well,
We still have the-
they have a great location and a good facility. No
All right,
doubt.
well, thank you for your comments. There's no early executive session reports from the governing body. I just have 2 quick things. We are hosting, and I need a little assistance on this, June 23rd, 9:30 a.m. Congressman Freelandheisen would like to host a town hall meeting here in the chambers. Jane is putting it out there, marketing it, getting it in the trends and patch our website so we get residents here to meet our congressman, who's now representing all of Bloomingdale instead of just a piece of Bloomingdale. He reached out to me, I spoke to the congressman, and I said I will be here to introduce him. But then I failed to remember that my son is entering college and has a college program that I need to do that day far, far away. And so I need the governing bodies, many of you that can be here, to be here, and particularly one person to introduce the congressman and welcome him that day. You don't have to tell me now.
I'll get back to you.
Yes. The council president would be great if it could be you, but as many that can be here, okay? I will call the congressman tomorrow and tell him that I will not be here, but some members of the governing body will be, and will be introducing maybe less of the intro of that local official for those kind of events, okay? And again, pass it around to residents and to be your congressman on June 23rd, 9:30 a.m. The other quick item I have, I just passed it out to you because the email came this afternoon. You just got your animal control shelter report for the month of May. Our total revenues were $1,152 in adoption fees, reclaim fees, etc. Total intake was 45 animals, and then 13 were reclaimed, 10 were adopted. So shelter population as of May 31st is 41 animals, 9 dogs, 29 cats, and 3 rabbits. So I say things are going quite well. Does any other governing body member have anything?
Just the Environmental Commission report that I forwarded to you
Okay.
with concerns about just getting information from the county on their plans for Friendship Park. The Environmental Commission did a tour of Friendship Park, and they had some issues that they discussed. I forwarded it, and I guess I had been asked to send a letter.
Yes. I'm all for what they're doing, but the Environmental Commission is advisory board to the governing body. They should put their concerns in a request to the governing body. So because they're advising us, and we say yay or nay, and then we forward it on to the county to address. And we'll say yay because there's some quite common sense things they want addressed. But it shouldn't just come back from you as the liaison. They're an advisory board to us. They should actually have a secretary who should formally produce a memo to the governing body. Pretty much copy and paste your email, but just make it more
That's what I
formal.
was going to do.
But on BDC letterhead. That's all. Anyone else have anything? Professional reports, Mr. Attorney, I think most of your stuff is executive. All right. That's correct. Madam Clerk, do you have anything for us? All right. And Ted, anything?
Just one part moving to animal control, but it's on the agenda, so I'll just go to that.
Okay.
Can I ask Ted a question?
Sure.
Tonight, are we now cutting the grass at the Board of Ed building? Are we
Starting July 1st.
Oh, I was wondering, because they were cutting the grass today at 5:45. And I thought,
Okay.
I said, that's not, that's the front of the building.
No.
Were they? Is that the
I thought it was
same
July 1 our
contractor?
start.
I just,
We currently have no, that's our contract.
Hold on, I didn't state your name for the record.
Currently using a contract until we begin.
okay, I didn't realize that
Okay.
when that was happening. I thought it was strange so late in the rain that they were cutting the grass
I
there.
thought it was too.
They're going to get it done. Pending business, item A, approval of street sweeping with the Borough of Riverdale. My error last week, we had this to be discussed in executive session. And it was executive session because we were waiting for Riverdale's input. And I absolutely in error thought we talked about it in the public session of the meeting because we talked about so much. The Board of Ed shared service, we talked about the recycling coordinator, shared service. So it's back here again because if the governing body is going to take action, I would like to see us take action. We had our DPW superintendent reach out and speak with, or approached by Riverdale for a shared service with street sweeping their streets. I believe a $12,000 annual revenue to the borough, or not revenue, shared service contract, which if we begin July 1, which would be the intention, it would be $76.50 for this year, revenue into this year's budget. And I know Councilwoman Sherman had concerns about fuel costs and our employees' time and the wear on the brushes and all those valid concerns. And what I will tell you is that our DPW superintendent, which is the same position I referenced when we approved the Board of Ed shared service, is his job to put these numbers together and project what it would cost to cover these costs and that's what has been done, and that's where we derived our $12,000 number.
John, did this go to the committee, to shared service committee?
No, it did not.
Okay, I feel that since it is shared services, I think it should go to everybody on that committee and then come back to us.
Well, I think a discussion now would make no difference than the discussion in the committee. It's time of the
I
essence.
think it's a shared service, we have a committees, am I correct? We have committees?
We have committees.
Okay, I think it should go to the shared service committee and then come to the
All
council.
right. I mean, I don't want,
Everybody
I don't
on
wanna-
shared
I'm on
service
that
committee.
committee, I'm okay with it discussing it right now.
we have, I'm a committee member, he's a
But
committee
Ray, I'm
member.
on the committee, and you knew about it long before I did. This has been discussed with Riverdale over a month ago.
No, that's not.
We were
It has
told,
been just a month ago.
It was.
I have never been told about it until I read in the paper that Riverdale approved us sweeping the streets.
I found out of it in the paper.
Well, that's what I found
In
out.
the paper, which means that I never heard of it up here. How'd you know about it?
we were told that John and John visited Riverdale. We were all told at the same time.
was
It's on the
Riverdale?
video.
Who will
Yes,
make?
that's true.
Yes.
How did it get in
We
the
were
paper?
told that there were
Visited
and
Riverdale.
discussed
How'd
a
it get in
bunch
the
of
paper?
shared
How'd it
services.
get in the paper?
Riverdale had a public meeting and authorized,
We were all told
passed it.
at the same time.
Riverdale authorized the agreement, obviously based on our
We signed the video.
Who was the people who met with Riverdale? Can you answer that?
I did, and Councilman D'Amato met with Riverdale.
And Ray, did you meet
I
with
wasn't
them?
there.
Okay. Is John on that shared service committee?
It was actually
Am I
not,
right?
it wasn't specific to church
Here's
service.
here's the way, what happened.
I only ask because this is a shared service. We have shared service committee, and who is on the shared service committee?
I don't disagree with you, okay? The way it happened for John and I to go down, we wanted to build a relationship with the mayor of Riverdale.
Okay.
Al Gallagher, who has a relationship with the mayor, we wanted to see how we can help each other out. John and I went down there on some Monday morning, and we met and sat down for about a half hour, 45 minutes, to introduce ourselves to the mayor.
That was the day I told you, I
Conversation.
took the great Glenburn house.
We got a tour of Glenburn House, it was beautiful, it was the week before they were gonna open it up, I believe. And in conversation with Al and the mayor, these things came up, of how we can help each other. All right? Street sweeping was part of it. So with the research that was done between Al and I believe their DPW superintendent, Al came back and said they are interested in us doing it. At the last meeting that we had, with all the stuff going on, and I actually mentioned it, is that it was an oversight.
It was an executive
This is an
session.
opportunity to take money in, a shared service for the town. And I agree with you, you should have went to the shared service committee. I'm not going to argue with you there, but you're correct.
Well, I'm going to have to say this. As I marched in the parade with you gentlemen, I said to you that day, it should have gone to shared service committee.
Okay.
Not one of you have reached out to Linda yet to discuss it. Am I right or wrong?
You're correct.
Okay, so my answer is tonight, I think you should go back to your committee, discuss it with everybody on that committee, and then bring it to the council.
We have two committee members who are fine with the discussion right now.
Well, that's great. It's three. It's not just two, it's three
She's got to
people.
spell progress for
Well,
detail.
my problem is starting off with the Monday meeting with you and John in Riverdale. I'm part of this council.
It
I
was not
am
a shared service,
available.
it was a shared
That's
service.
okay. I'm part of this council. Nobody else was invited.
Right.
If you're available on
Okay.
Monday.
You know,
We're not working in the committees. We're not working as a team. We've got something on the agenda that we have never discussed. And now, when I ask questions like, okay, we're going to spend one day a week cleaning Riverdale streets, what was that person doing that isn't going to be done now? I don't really have a good answer to that. Plus, now our machine is broken down. This is an expensive piece of machinery.
and that's why we need a shared service to help offset those expenses. Between this shared service
What
and
are
the
we
shared
not doing with this man who runs the machine? What is he going, he is all of a sudden has a whole day a week free. Well, we're spending a day in Riverdale.
Currently, we provide street sweeping to Compton. And that's done 2 days a week in Compton. And the remaining days, if he has time, or depending what the assignments are, because if we're short drivers, either drive a garbage truck or facilitate, because all the people who work at DPW basically are on the all-hands-on-deck mentality.
He's primarily a machine operator.
But primarily, he's a machine operator. If this was approved, it would add an additional day to the shared services that we provide in the street sweep. The one thing that needs to be at least identified, that the shared services with these other communities basically are going to pay for our employee's salary, and the benefit of that is you're going to recoup a person's salary and still have them basically, I don't want to use the word free, but certainly available to the borough for the remaining 6 months. So street sweeping is a benefit to the borough because it helps offset our costs. It allows our employee to generate a revenue that we wouldn't normally. When I first got here 6.5 years ago, that truck sat in the garage and hardly moved. Right? I refer to it as the parade truck. It had about 4 miles on it, because it never got used. So obviously anybody who runs equipment, the benefit is not to overuse it, but certainly to use it. So you don't wind up with a rust bucket 10 years later and 12 miles on a vehicle that never went anywhere.
How often do they sweep Bloomingdale streets?
It's a matter of opinion. I've heard comments that says never. Obviously, it depends on the day, and it depends on when they have the time. Obviously, we street sweep heavily in the spring when we first come out of a season because of winter, because of grit. That starts to slack. It also depends on how much rain. Time is always the time.
But we go to Pompton Lakes 2 days a week, every week in spring and summer?
No. There's a time period, I don't have the agreement, so I don't want to misquote, but I can certainly pull that agreement out and tell you, but it's a defined time period. We go up to the fall, which I believe is right around the first week of October. And it starts in the spring of the year. But I don't have those exact dates, but I'll certainly email those to you.
And this is why it should go to the Shared Service Committee. This is why, because then these questions that Mrs. Shortman has can be answered there.
And the bottom line is this conversation should have been had in committee and not here wasting of a time for long meetings. You can laugh about it.
No, I find
We
that.
have committees.
I'm glad.
This is what I would have asked if we had sat down. This committee has never met.
I apologize for that. But there are so many subjects that I'll be playing. The issue of a committee meeting, I don't disagree with you, but you
But
force me.
again, I gave you a heads up at the parade and you blew it. You blew it, John. I gave you and John.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask one question? You have the Shared Service Committee. Who's the chairman of it? Okay. Have we ever had one meeting, just sit down on the round table with your committee and discuss where you want to go? Where do you want to get a shared service from? Have you come up with any ideas
I'm not on
for
the Shared Service Committee.
Well, who is it?
I am.
John? And who?
The committee never met. How can we do that?
Myself.
Well, you know, I'm the head of the committee. I called the meeting, we met, we discussed, we started moving things in a
So you
certain
have to
direction, I
include
believe.
everybody in the committee.
But you should meet every month, John. And we've only met once.
We've met once, but we met with other identities for a project we're working on.
The issue is, between Pompton Lakes and Riverdale Shared Service, it would ultimately pay half of one of our employees' salaries. That's the issue here. Should committee have met? I think the facts, you knew about it because you sent emails asking me questions, your answers from our DPW superintendent. I don't, you reference committees, and I don't disagree with you, but, let's...
Hey, John, I'm not bending. This should have gone to
Okay,
committee.
that-
I said to
What
you
I
at
was
the
gonna say
parade,
was-
I said to you at the parade, get the committee together, and you blew me away.
What I was going to say was, there's a double standard, because you have had budget committees with our auditor, without our chairperson there, and that's fact. So just be careful on who you accuse of not having committee meetings.
Yeah, but I gave you the heads up.
So, again, it's a revenue that we desperately need. We constantly have this discussion. We're 600,000 in the hole,
No, we're not. We've come a long way since you keep saying 600.
575.
No,
How much?
180.
She's still not believing it?
We're
Well,
180
that
away?
budget, we only
We're
have one
180
budget.
away? I don't know which budget committee you're attending to, but we're not 180.
Okay, well then let's have a meeting and talk about it.
Again, I'd really like to take action on this to start the revenue immediately.
I wish we were 180 away. I wish I could sit here and say, yeah, you know what, Linda, you're right. You're absolutely right. And you know what? Joanne, you're absolutely right. We should have these ideal meetings all the time. This man's here half a day, every single day.
Don't do that to me. I don't want to hear it. I said to you at the parade. Right then and there, I gave you a heads up, okay? That's it. Bottom line, you should have met with your committee people.
You want to punish people for bringing money in. You had a problem with Board of Ed, you have a problem with this money.
Oh, no. Go
Yes,
to
you
the
do.
committee. Go to the committee.
Committee's here, I'm ready to vote on it. I'll make the
I'm ready
motion
to
to
vote on
pass this tonight.
We need the
We
revenue.
need the revenue, we need the money. Let's stop the games.
What do we do with pump and waste? What's our contract with them per year?
With vegetative waste and street sweeping.
What's this street sweep?
I'd have to go on.
What's the status of the sweeper right now?
It'll be done by July 1st.
And what's the cost going to be and what's wrong with it?
It's
Transmission.
in their budget.
It's
Transmission?
in their budget, it's a maintenance item. Doesn't change, it's nothing to do with the shared service.
Of course it does. It's the equipment you're gonna say this truck will be in Riverdale every year.
The current issue has nothing to do with the shared service.
Here's a problem I look at, and I have a problem with. Looking at 12,000, I'm sorry, $1,200, okay?
No, wait.
What are we doing in a month? $12,000, correct? It's $1,000 a month for Riverdale.
No, it's not 12 months though. It's a 7-month.
Okay. Okay.
It's $2 grand a month. Right, it's prorated, really, it's $76.50 for the balance of this year.
12 months the next year.
Oh, it's $500, it's $500 a week if you do it at $2 grand a month, which it's not, but if you figure it out that way,
It's $1,000.
it's $500 a week. That's $2 grand a month. If you're street sweeping for 6 months, okay, you follow me?
Gotcha.
Okay, $500 a week, it's $2 grand a month, right? Which it's not, it's more like 7 months, but anyway, we'll keep it simple. Okay, we keep it at that. Now we have an operator put in there. What's an operator make?
He's already employed, we're already paying his wages.
Doesn't matter, still gotta put him in a place, you still got benefits.
We might be able to use him for other DPW work without hiring more employees.
You say he makes $100 a day, okay? Make $100 a day, just keep it simple. So you're down to 400, how much fuel is that burning?
The number proposed.
John, I don't have a problem with shared services, I have a problem with who is doing the numbers to make them,
You didn't let me finish.
to offset.
Our
Make it
number
15 bucks a
proposed,
day.
the number proposed was proposed by our DPW superintendent.
I know, I saw some things that he did for me and I wasn't too happy with it.
And I'm not going to answer all your questions. It's a shared service to offset our overall operating costs, which we have to do.
But it has to be feasible to do it. I'm down to $400 a day and I even get into his benefit package.
Benefits
And
are
fuel.
free. We're already paying his benefits.
It still doesn't
Whether you
matter.
have
It's
to
a
show
shared
us
debt.
about that
Let
cost
me ask you
today.
a question, when a guy retires, you're gonna be holding the bag, paying for him.
Whether we
And
sweep,
you'll be paying for the guy that's gonna replace him.
Brent, whether we
With
sweep
Riverdale or
or
without
not.
Riverdale, all your
Not
statements are
true.
true.
Yes, that is true.
Not true. We have the opportunity that we're going to probably be hearing we need to hire more people. We won't have to hire more people. Correct?
I just wanna make enough money to offset our costs and offset our costs at a large sum, not a piece of the pie, not a very small piece of the pie.
Okay, we're there.
We're there?
We're there.
I'll bet you you're not making $250 a day
You're
over
not
that.
making, you can't make money.
I bet you,
Supposed to make.
You're not making
I'll bet you
money.
over the course,
Well, we'd be better off reducing
Glenn,
staff.
you're not making money. You're reducing your operating cost. This is an existing employee. We're already paying his pension, we're already paying his wages, we're already paying all the things you're calculating, whether we have shared services or not. Shared services help us reduce that overall exposure. And this one will reduce it by $7,600 for the balance of this year.
And the question still remains, what was this person doing? Have we have him free for a day a week?
maybe I just don't know how to run a business.
Glenn, if you made $1,000, would you approve it?
No.
If I made $1,000 net, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think it's gonna cost you more than $6,000 in gasoline?
I just asked that question.
Do you think it will cost you
What?
more than $6,000?
I'm down to $400 already, and I didn't get the benefits of fuel or repair.
But you can't add in benefits, because whether we have this contract or not, those benefit costs exist today. We have to pay those.
But they
All you have to pay
eliminate,
is labor too.
Right, whether we do this
But he's
contract
not
or
working
not,
for Bloomingdale, he's working for over there.
They're paying for it.
whether we do this contract or not, those costs exist today.
Right,
there's
right.
no
I'm gonna
additional
keep it
cost.
very simple, very easy, Greg. In business, if I pay an employee $20 an hour gross, I have to make $85, $90 off of him. Okay? I have to charge somebody for that man. So I can make a profit.
Correct.
That's, okay.
Okay, I have to make a profit.
Sure.
Okay? And that's what I'm looking
You
at.
can't, because it's, you're not,
Government
this is,
doesn't work.
shared services is not a profit.
Government doesn't look like that.
I understand it's not a profit. But we can offset, we could pull anything you want, but we can offset our cost to a higher rate.
No, we're just offsetting our operating expense. We're not-
I think
we're
we
not-
should look for somebody else to sweep our streets and pay that. It would be a clean
That's an
amount of money.
expense.
I think it would be cheaper.
It would be
If we-
cheaper.
If we sought the
It would be
shared
cheaper
service
if
for
you have
us.
an employee that costs you over $100,000 a year with benefits, and a machine
Why
that
is this
costs X
conversation
amount of dollars,
People,
it costs us $12,000.
Simon, we have to go shared services, whether it's us, it's the next one. That's what the state is forcing us to. We have to go through shared services. Writings on the wall, every
Then
community is
let's
gonna go
go
under.
out and hire somebody to do our streets. That's a shared service, right?
If you turn around and tell the communities around us that we don't want shared services, they're all gonna
We do.
go in agreement, and we're left out. And guess what that's gonna do to our residents?
I think that our shared services
You're
are
here-
too cheap.
And
That's
they're
what I'm
adequate.
getting. I'm not against them, I think we're too cheap to other towns.
I put my trust in the professionals that we pay good money to make these negotiations. And if Riverdale is not saving money, why would they go into it? Right? If it's costing them, say, $14,000, we go and do it for 12, it makes sense for them to do this move, right? But you can't go in there and charge them $15,000.
Why not?
Because they're spending 14 now, they're not gonna pay you 15. It doesn't make sense for them.
If they had to buy $100,000 machine, they might.
No, they're just gonna go somewhere else.
Well, where are you gonna go? Thompson Lakes doesn't have one.
But when, are we talking about buying a machine, or are we talking about
Talking about the
expressing
whole,
our expenses that we have today?
Ray, I'm looking at the whole big picture, not a very small part. That's all I'm saying.
But we need every single shared service that's out there,
Go.
and kudos to those that go out and get it done
We need to
without
cut our expenses.
sitting around and pounding our heads.
Ray, if it's
and
costing us $15,000 to do it, and we're only getting in 12, we're losing 3, aren't we? Do
I
we
agree
know
with
this?
you. Bring
Do
me
we
the
know
cost.
this, Matt?
Bring
Please.
me the cost and bring me the revenues.
That's all I wanna do.
Show me our costs are higher, and I would agree with you.
Our- Our department head is the one who proposes number based on exactly what you're doing. I have stated on the record.
I would like to go to the department head, if I may, and look at how we came to these numbers.
Wait
That's
another
all.
2 weeks.
That's all I ask. Before I make a move, that's all I want.
Also, we should go North Jersey property maintenance, ask them what it really costs to sweep the street, ask them what it costs to sweep Riverdale. Because we're gonna pay, we're getting paid $336 to sweep the street each time. I mean, that's a losing proposition. It can't happen with a $150,000 machine.
But who does it for Riverdale now? Who currently does it for Riverdale?
I don't know.
I think
I'm saying, we should find out how much.
Maury does some of their stuff.
Yeah,
We're coming up at 336. I don't get
Because
that.
it's 7 months a year. It's $12,000, 7 months a year, 7 times, once a week, 7 times 4 is 28 times. It's 12,000
My
divided by
Sunday's
28.
band was $2 grand a month. You're coming up at
$2,000 a
$3.
month. It's $336 every time they sweep the street.
They're not sweeping it every single day.
They're sweeping it once a week for 7 months.
Is that the deal? Once a week?
For $12,000.
So they passed.
No, not for 52 weeks though.
No, for 7
For
months.
7 months. 28 weeks divided by 12.
But they're not doing the whole
12,000.
town, but they're not doing the whole town in one day.
It's taking more than 1 day.
They're not doing the whole town in one, no, they do it when our guy goes there and does, quadrant of the town, next week another. By the time, I think in a 7-month period, he'll do the whole town.
Yeah, but
3
it's
times, 4
not,
times.
yeah, they're not doing the town. I'm just figuring it per day, per week.
Based on that sweeper goes out. And we're getting paid $336 for every day. We spend the whole day. That doesn't even get the guy's salary.
We're already paying his salary.
Because he's obviously not doing anything, correct?
But if we have the need for an employee, we don't have to go out and hire one because he'd be
The
available.
problem is, we're losing an employee for 3 days.
Well, based on that, if you go take on more jobs than you have today, does that mean you weren't doing anything all day long? Or is it because you want to make more money to offset your costs? You ask questions like, oh, because now he's going to do more. Well, look, if he's working for us 5 days a week, he's going to give Bloomingdale 1 day, he's going to give Compton 2 days, he gives Bloomingdale 2 days, and we're splitting our costs that way? That's shared services.
I think we have to know that the mayor has left the meeting, all because
Frustrating.
this waste of time that would have been settled
It is
properly
frustrating, right?
and convinced.
All I want to do is just see numbers, that's all I'm asking. I'm not against
So
anything.
let's move on. We discussed
I
it.
just want to see the numbers and look at them and see how he came up with the cost. Did anybody see the numbers on this? Did it come to you guys?
No.
Did you see how it came up in the shared service committee?
There was never a meeting. We've never, even
I
after,
trust the professionals
even after
that
it was
pay
on
good
the
money.
You
for this.
trust the
agenda, we
professionals,
never
you
had a
shouldn't
meeting.
trust the professionals.
Why?
You're the professional, you're the person that has to watch the handout.
If I can't trust the people that do this job, then why did I?
Then why are we even up here, right?
Exactly.
And we shouldn't even be
Why do I
here,
pay them to
because
do
they don't
this
need
job?
us, because you could just trust your professionals. You have to be here.
And they're not the taxpayers
There
in
is
this
a
town,
difference
right?
between micromanagement.
I'm not
and
micromanaging.
You are micromanaging.
I'm micromanaging.
Yeah.
I'm asking
You're saying
somebody
you don't
how
trust
you
your
came up
professionals.
with a number for a shared service. Or I should just take his word for it.
Ted, have you seen the map? You have. Does it make sense?
I don't have it in front of me, but we're not going to make this decision tonight anyway.
We're not.
So I'll pull it out and we'll have that discussion.
So subject to you seeing the number,
Ted.
and as long as it makes sense.
I would
we'll
say
move
yes,
forward.
absolutely.
Because that's the message I want written in the paper, that we're ready to move forward as long as the numbers make sense.
That's right.
I don't want the communities around us going, these guys are out of their mind. They're sitting there arguing over dispersing their costs. They don't get it.
No, Ray, we're
I don't have the
arguing
paper to write
because
that.
we sit here and we had to read in the newspaper that another town accepted a proposal that we've never discussed or seen. It's
get
an
it.
embarrassment
I get
to
it.
us.
You're
And I'm
upset
not
about
here
that.
for the employees, I'm here for the taxpayers.
I get it, you're upset about that, and the man apologized.
And it could have been in the
because he
last
should
day
have
of 2 weeks
talked
to
about
call
it.
a meeting. Nobody bothered. It all came out and nobody bothered. And here we spent 40 minutes, wasted everybody's time.
Ted, would you please send the committee the numbers that was proposed by Al Gallagher so they can see the numbers and we can make a decision on the 26th?
And let's have a
And let's
committee
remember,
meeting.
Glenn said, if we made it $1,000, we're moving forward.
I'm sorry, I don't think Glenn makes that decision.
Glenn said that.
What?
He has a vote.
That as long as we're positive, you've been moving forward, right?
If we're positive
All right,
and
I want
making
the
money,
paper,
yes.
with this is.
Yes, if we're
clown
making
show.
money, yes. If we're making $2, no. We're gonna make money.
I agree, for $2.
We're gonna offset our
Maybe we'll find
costs and put
something
it down.
And then you can promise me that for the rest of the year, nobody will come up here and make a proposal to hire another DPW employee. Will you promise that?
First of all, where is that coming from? We're broke.
We're telling
We
you-
have no money to go hire people.
Okay.
Why are you even coming up with that question?
Because you will. Because you will.
Why will I come up and ask for more people?
I'd rather save it.
Explain.
Salary.
It's amazing how the mayor talks.
Are we all going?
Oh, you're back?
Yes, and then he's resting.
Oh, would have been nice if you let us know.
This is frustrating.
It is. Can you imagine us? You knew about it, I didn't.
It's frustrating
Okay,
to
John.
see
Moving on to
how
the next
hard
subject.
somebody works, and they get punished when they come into this
We're on
room
the
because they don't sit on the majority.
authorizing the sale of land.
It's politics,
We're gonna,
as you.
Ted's gonna look into.
I'm
That's what
so glad
it's
you
Show us
said it.
how Gallagher,
Maybe if I was still a Democrat, I'd have been invited to that meeting in
You
Riverhead.
would
2012. 6.1, authorizing sale of land, Block 31, Lot 9. The governing body approved this last year. Although the contracts were never completed, they have been completed. And this is a piece of land off Birch Road, where a number of years ago, the governing body, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago, granted use of a borough easement for a homeowner's septic. And the homeowners approached the borough to purchase that easement, which just makes sense for the homeowner to now include that as his lot and block. The sale price, again, the revenue to the borough is $2,500. I need a motion to approve resolution 21261.
So second.
Objection.
Yes. Oh, you are the property owner, so you
Yes.
are more than welcome to approach the dais. State your name and address for the record, please.
You want to pay more money?
No. John, Mr. Mayor. Mike Azzolino, 15 Birch Road, Bloomingdale, New Jersey.
Yes.
We have the wrong lot. Well,
Well, because of the new assessment.
no. We went over this 3 times.
Okay.
You took your contract and the changes.
Plus, the agenda was just prepared.
Yeah, the agenda.
Okay, I just,
Hang on.
I'd rather make it legal.
We have 2 different contracts here to begin with.
Hold on. Hold on.
They're neither one or dated,
Mike,
so I don't know
okay,
which one
I'll
it is.
amend, I need an amendment on the motion, Mike, 49E, lot 42.01.
Perfect.
That's what we have it here.
Yeah, you know what it was, that was the original, the contract was amended this
And I fixed
afternoon.
it with the attorney.
So, again, who made that motion? You amend that motion to reference lot 49, lot 42.01, amended and seconded amendment.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Is this sod shell? Or
No.
It is. So do away with this copy that we
No,
have?
that's it. We're coming up to that new door.
Oh, it's a different one.
That's First
It's
Street.
exactly the same.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Tomato,
Yes.
Toots,
Yes.
Schiffman,
Yes.
Shortman,
Yes.
Yasti,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll sign the contract in the morning, and then you can work it out with whomever.
Oh, you don't want the money now?
I was
looking for revenue. There you go.
Mayor, I can get revenue received.
You know, stop by Borough Hall in the morning and see.
Okay.
All right, Ted.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to express my thanks to all of you for working so closely together, because I was afraid. Thanks again. Take care.
That was very funny, Mike. Item C, update on qualified purchasing agent courses. I know we're, by state code, required now to have QPA. We will probably look at interim, hiring a license in the meantime. Is there any update there on course availability? I know I had so much of emails on that.
Well,
That's it.
we're interviewing people that are.
That would be to hold the license for balance in this year.
Right.
Courses, though, to get you or someone else certified.
The classes are full and we
Right.
can't go till next year.
Okay. Okay.
We're looking at.
Right.
Those people that bring that qualification, we will certainly
Correct.
look at.
But we should do it in-house to save that money over long term. New business, approval entertainment license renewal for Stumble Inn. Sorry?
That's just information.
Just discussional, okay, it'll be up for adoption, I mean, it's just a renewal, they already have the permit. There'll be, this is again work session, so just discussing items to be taken action on June 26th, which is in your book, various liquor license renewals, so familiarize yourself with those. Okay, all right, but any, and we get our recommendations from ABC and our police chief that doesn't move forward. Discussion in regard to attendance at the League of Municipalities Conference. I don't know, who requested that on the agenda?
I think we got an email about attending, and I said to put it on the agenda because I think that we don't really have a budget, but I know last year we had taken, I think it was like a $100 a night hotel, and I know that that was never stated that you had to go there, and some people attending chose to go to a lot more expensive hotel. I think the council should make the determination that I certainly think the League Municipalities Convention is totally worthwhile. I've gone for 2 years, and I don't mind paying anyone who goes, but I think that if they want to go to an upgraded hotel, they should pay the difference of the $100, which some people did.
They did.
Some people did. Well, it was brought up and then they offered to, some, not all. But I think we should make the determination here that we not spend more than
Not a problem.
$100 a
Let's wait
night.
for the budget, and then we can decide exactly what you're doing.
But I missed that, what?
Well, then wait for the, you say you have no budget, so you can't make a decision on it, so.
Well, I think that I would like to make a motion that any...
Well, this isn't work session.
Oh, okay, then put it on the, you're right, got me. Put it on the agenda for the regular meeting. To
Okay.
discuss.
Jay, you have that?
Please.
Jane, can you put a copy in my file?
So I guess what Councilwoman is looking for is a motion that would lock a specific rate for council people and employees. If anyone chooses to upgrade, they'll pay
Right.
the difference.
Exactly,
That's fine.
thanks.
Can I just say, this is gonna be the first item cut, okay? You wanna go to a conference, pay your own way. All the way.
Employees too?
Anyone that wants to go, pay your own way.
Uh,
No, employees that have to go for accreditation, that's different. They have to go because otherwise they can't keep their job. We have to pay for that.
This is reminiscent
Okay,
of my
rest
teacher
of us?
days, when people do not understand the value of the networking and what you learn.
Right, and I'm willing
Go
to
to
pay for
these
that.
workshops.
I'm willing to pay for
And
that.
I think
You
that
should
the minuscule salary that we make now, that I spend most of it on ink cartridges and paper, etc., I think that it is totally valuable for our employees and our council to go. So I disagree with you on that.
Let's just cast the budget first. Let's make sure the budget comes in where it needs to without raising too many things.
Well, John,
Right, we have to raise fees.
bring that up to your committee, and we'll take it with the committee, on your budget committee.
I think we have to discuss some of these items because even the public events is already at $15,000 of money encumbered, and they don't know what their budget is.
Right.
So maybe we ought to just stop all spending until we
That's a good
actually have a
idea.
budget, before we don't have a choice anymore on what needs to be and not
I
be.
don't understand that spending. What, shut down government?
No,
police protection?
unnecessary spending.
Mulching stones for gardens.
No, that can be true. You're being too quick for me, just.
But paying-
Adoption of resolution 2012-622, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development funding. This is, and it is a work session, Councilwoman, but I am asking for action because I want to be on the safe side. The state county received $12 million from Housing and Urban Development for flood disaster relief. And Ted attended numerous meetings on the topic, and most likely, most of this money is going to the urban areas for buyouts and flood mitigation in Patterson.
Just want to check it.
Safe, but we are on the list, and one of the items that I have Ted bring to the county's attention for their own purposes is that failed stormwater line by the post office going under Main Street to the river. So they are going to include that, correct, Ted? The storm drain. What I'd like to apply for, there's no guarantee of funding, is money to help offset what we've already bonded. This particular grant only funds are only eligible for low and moderate income areas. And if you look at the maps, which are at Town Hall from the county, Sloan Park and qualifies, that stretch of Main Street qualifies. That's how we got Henry Street grant, the community block development grant for the sidewalks that are being installed on Henry right now. And we got previous money, I think, in the past, not to revamp, right? So this is that pot of money, and they got $12 million from the federal government. So I want to submit, look, county, we bonded $1.8 million, probably $800,000 of that's going to be for this area of the park. Let's, we're submitting, that's our piece. And whether we get 10 grand, 20 grand, nothing, we don't know. Part of the process is this resolution. Whether we'll be heard, there's an application process Ted's aware of, and Ted's working with the county on it. He's attended 3 meetings already on the topic. So that is why I'm asking you to move 212-6.2, a resolution requesting disaster relief funding.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Councilmembers Toots.
Yes.
Schiffman.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Action, yes.
Mr. Mayor, actually, item E and F are the same thing.
Right, okay. Item E and F, what we're doing is adopting the resolution 212.6.3, emergency resolution for temporary appropriations for the Click It or Ticket grant. It's the grant we receive for our police officers to cover their time to be out there policing for seatbelt violators. So I need that motion.
So moved. Second.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Schiffman.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
The next item, adoption resolution 212.6.4. This came to me, or us, from Senator Joe Panaccio, our former senator, who always served our borough very well, asking for municipalities to support a resolution, whereas eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse is often stated but rarely addressed, and efforts to do so are nearly impossible. Whereas transparency in government is necessary to identify state spending and where state tax dollars go. Whereas a bipartisan approach to improving transparency, identifying waste, and eliminating abuse at each level of state government, and the establishment of the Public Finance Transparency Committee would facilitate the organization, development, and maintenance of such websites. So, the governor, to your point, Councilwoman, on posting the salary wages on our website, is looking for the state to begin posting such financial documents on their website as well. So I'd have that motion, please.
So moved.
It's voicing in support of Bill S302, Transparency in Government Act. Made the motion by Shortman, seconded by Yazdi. Any further discussion?
Roll call.
Councilmember Shortman.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
Schiffman.
Yes.
Item H, discussion in regards to Rose Fund referendum.
That's my, I put that on the agenda. As we all know, in 2000, we voted to pass a Rose Fund tax on our people. The tax is 2.5 cents per
The town, the public voted.
public, sorry, voted, and we have been, we have our current Rose Fund, which is funded at the rate of 2.5 cents per $100 of evaluation. Since our town has just undergone a reevaluation, considering our assessments will probably be close to double, I believe that the public should have the opportunity to vote on whether to keep the 2.5 cents per 100, which we're the only community in Passaic County. Most of them at present have 1 cent, and as West Milford is reconsidering their referendum at even 1 cent, I think we need to ask our public once again, as this would be an increase in a tax on them, whether they want to continue with the 2.5 cents or formulate a referendum question, perhaps that to reduce it to 1 cent to keep our current funding level.
1 cent would reduce the amount of getting the roads today.
Whatever, I think we need to investigate what would keep it at this
Well, the
level.
assessed values came in at 1.7, 170% of the previous.
Not mine.
Well, the total assessed values came in at
Yes.
170%. So the average roads tax on every household out there is around $40 right now. So after everything is shuffled out, it's going to increase it to approximately $68, right, each household on average will be paying. And with the changes we just recently had to allow Blue Acres to pay for flooding out of the roads, I would recommend, especially since we're spending $1.8 billion to take care of our flooding in this town, and even if FEMA paid back 100% of everything we put in for, the state's going to take 25% of that money and keep it. It won't give it back to us. So we're going to have a $450,000 cost that we have to raise. And since we can pay it out of the roads, why don't we split the roads rather than going that route to take a portion and apply it to flood money so we can pay off our $450,000 debt when it becomes, rather than going and borrowing money at interest, and paying the interest cost.
I see this as an increased tax on our taxpayers, and I think the choice would be theirs. I think we need some legal advice on what that Blue Acres, is that what you're referring to that we voted for?
Right.
Whether that money, I didn't initially read it, that we could, you know, offset that kind of an expense through the Rose Fund.
Well, flood mitigation is exactly what we voted on.
And you absolutely, that was the whole
That
purpose.
was the whole purpose of it.
I
So,
thought it was buying property.
no, that's part of Blue Acres, buyouts, but it's also,
This is an added, this is an added item in what you're allowed to use Blue Acres funding for. So it's not that you have to proportion what you use it for. You're allowed to choose to help residents deal with the flooding that has caused damage to their property out of that Rose Fund. It's another item that you can use that money for.
Well, I still believe that it's an increased tax.
It is.
Certainly is significant.
Absolutely.
Either way you will.
the rebound actually going to increase the tax on the Rose Fund portion on people's tax bills. To Councilman's point, if you use that increase to pay your debt on the flood mitigation, that is actually going to save the taxpayer more than if you, because to pay that debt, you're coming out of current operating. So I wouldn't lower the Rose Fund for probably 3 reasons. One is exactly what Councilman just referred to. You need that money to fund your mitigation without going to current operating budget. 2, it's our only surplus in town. I'll be frank with you. The order even stated that the Rose Fund is our only surplus in Bloomingdale. Why would you diminish that in any way? And 3, you'll never fund your Riverwalk if you cut the Rose Fund.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm counting on the county and cupcake sales.
So what exactly are we, what did we bring in last year on the Rose Fund?
100.
6,000.
So everything over the top, then we'll put it to the Blue Acres.
Well, that would be the clear.
Depends on what the council votes.
And I think the auditor's recommendation was even also some more of your operating costs for this year's budget.
Plan B,
Yes.
Plan B
this is in Plan
in
B,
the budget.
so we wouldn't want to go cut this thing
Right.
without having our budget figured out first.
It's your only surplus. I don't know why you cut it. Yeah.
Now,
It's,
having said that, it's a very popular thing to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to cut taxes.
Right.
I'm going to cut this, as a matter of fact, I'm going to give everyone a 50% tax cut.
The referendum
Very-
passed.
Yeah, very popular thing to say, and, you know, sounds good, but the reality is, we're in a mess. A mess that's been created, not just by last year, but years of not planning for the
I
future.
don't know about this then.
The referendum would pass. If you go to the residents, we're going to cut your tax from 2.5 cents to 1 cent.
I don't believe
No,
that
it's
we're
not
passing this
It
town.
would, but my point is, it would pass to
it's
1.
to keep it the same, not to cut it. It's to keep it the same.
Right, okay. But again, I'm just going by, the auditor's advice was, don't do that, because it's your only surplus.
Well, he didn't discuss this issue. No. He didn't
No,
discuss
no,
this.
Plan B, if you don't
Wait,
do that,
wait,
Plan
wait,
B,
wait. If I may, did the auditor state don't touch the Rose Fund?
No. No.
I have it in writing, I can put it up on.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so yes, he did state that. Then you have the issue of, again, funding your Blue Acres. So if you use the money, Councilman Shipman, like you stated, for funding that bond on that Rose Fund increase, it's going to save the taxpayer more than funding it out of current operating budget. And even if you offset some of it.
The point I want to
We'll
make,
guarantee that it will be used for that, not artificial turf on Walter T.
A resolution. Ordinance.
What, I'm sorry, Ted?
the one thing I want to point out, in the meetings that I attended for this funding, out of that one,
Great, right, the HUD grant.
the HUD grant, they're basically going to take the overall funding, take out the 20%, split urban areas and flood zones, 2 big towns, I don't have to identify them. They're going to get 50% of that, and then the remaining people that attended the meeting, Bloomingdale being one of them, is going to get a little portion of this.
So it's still a $3 million pot of money.
Right, but that money is basically identified for Blue Acres because this money is running out.
For acquisition.
So they're telling us, you need to start to figure out your own game plan here because this is going to, no pun intended, dry up.
Well, that's why I moved the resolution, if we can get anything out of that. But again, we can have further discussions on it. I'd go back to our auditor's recommendation, proposing that idea, and for the various reasons we state. Item I, discussion in regards to funding for garden.
I also put this on the agenda because one of the recommendations from the Rose Fund was to, fund when the people, the master gardeners came and asked for, that we keep the $2,000 there for them to develop this garden.
Right.
I do believe we accepted the recommendations, but before they go out and start buying materials, I want to know that, they will get this $2,000.
They already received it, right?
They've already received it.
They got the materials.
You
Stone
didn't
and
get
mulch.
dirt and stone and mulch down over at the,
But we were not told that that
We
came
were
out
not
of,
told that that was in that $2,000.
Where was it coming from?
well, the same place it came from last year.
At the Rose Fund.
No, plus they got $2,000 to buy plants. Yes. Oh, yes,
No, no.
yes, yes.
They got money for beautification.
They got beautification, right. Beautification helped with some of that.
So the soil and the mulch that they receive now, that was $2,000?
There was $2,000 authorized for the master gardener's garden. That's the only action everybody took. So I assumed the mulch run that was already delivered, which I think was like $1,200, $1,300, came out of that.
And we didn't really pay anything out of on our bills list for that.
I don't know.
it came out of the DPW. They stated that before.
But that's what it did last year. Last year, they got the mulch, they got the gravel, and they got the $2,000.
$2,000 because there's no money in the beautification.
So in other words, the mulch and the gravel didn't come out of the Rose Fund, you're telling me. Came out of DPW.
I don't have the books in front of me to know where the.
But somebody had paid for it.
That's what Al told
It
me.
doesn't come free.
Right, it's not free.
But it came out of the DPW budget.
Oh, out of their budget. Right, we
Not
shouldn't
the
have-
Rose Fund.
Well, it should have been Rose Fund. Right, that was incorrect.
Probably wasn't charged the right spot.
And that was incorrect last year, too?
It certainly cost them a good bit.
Well, that was a total misunderstanding then.
So what are you looking for?
I'm looking for $2,000 for them to continue buying plants for the garden. I mean, I was there last Thursday, there were 12 people working, of these master gardeners. I mean, I think they're just creating something beautiful. That's a ton of work.
So moved. Let's move on.
I'm fine with moving on it, but it's $1,300.
Out of roads, and the reason being, because we have almost $300,000 sitting in that reserve fund.
We do.
Yeah, we got 200,000 sitting
That's
in
an
open
open
space alone.
space. This
And
doesn't
there's no
qualify
plans,
under
there is
open
zero
space.
plans.
Actually, no flowers qualify under the Rose Fund. That's why we did it.
Well, discretionary.
Maintenance.
No, didn't we take it out of
We
beautification?
took $500 out of beautification. It actually should come out of the maintenance, maintaining of open space, because recreation, read the ordinance, clearly does not allow for flowers out of the Rose Fund. It's recreation and maintenance. Flowers are not
Where did we get $48 for each of these planters around town?
beautification.
Well, that came from beautification.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we, there's definitely the money in the Rose Fund to do it, but we already spent $1,300 on the stone. So you want $2,000 on top of that?
Yes.
Okay. So the $1,300 came out of DPW's budget, which really should have come out of Rose Fund. Okay. So the motion was made $2,000 out of the Rose Fund, but I would declare it as the open space portion, for open space.
If we can legally do that.
Oh, yeah, that's what you can do.
That's-
That's open space, it's not recreation. If you were fixing a paver sidewalk, that would be recreation, maintenance, maintaining the senior rec facility. Flowers is gray on the rec. So, okay, that's his motion, seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Yasi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots. Yes. Chipman.
Now,
Shortman.
Yes.
update on animal shelter. I pretty much gave a report earlier. Do you have anything further, Jets?
We had an open house, the councilman, D'Amato attended on June 3rd. We had a really good turnout. Things seem to be progressing, but our ACOs, we have a different responsibility than our former shelter managers because they ran it as a private entity, and this is a borough function. So if we can focus on this for 2 more seconds, I'll finish, and then we can have has a responsibility to train our volunteers. Our ACO staff is busy with their own function. What I'm asking the council to do is to pick up a person for $9 an hour for 90 days. By August 31st, there's no job. I need somebody there to help facilitate the training of these volunteers, because you can't just open the doors, leave the keys there, and turn the volunteers loose in a building that now the borough is managing with no guidance, no direction, and no training. We have a person cleaning in the morning for up to 20 hours a week. That person's in place. You have to understand one thing. When our prior provider left, we had to create a whole new issue here, because now we have to meet town standards, not just what volunteers want to pick or choose.
Ted, let me just stop right there. The governing body authorized exactly where we are on the shelter and the budget of $30,000, which is what we're going to pay another vendor. So is this $9 an hour for 90 days within that budget?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Here's the person's name, if we could get this person appointed, because it now has our animal control people coming in on Sunday afternoons to be open to make this facility.
It's within the budget for the shelter. So the motion is to authorize Bonnie Sullivan as a part-time staffer at the shelter, $9 an hour,
Till August 31st.
until August 31st.
How many hours a day?
To a maximum of 20 hours a week. It varies.
But it's within the budget.
And
It's
that
already
includes
approved.
the other person that we hired.
Yes, it's good. You're within the budget. It's already approved. And as I reported, we're averaging $1,500 a month in revenue through the shelter.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
My discussion would just be to make sure we understand what we're bringing in money and what we're paying every month. So, to have an animal shelter account that would be accountable to the money coming in and what is going out. That's all. Costs, it's called.
The dog trust.
And everything.
It's right there. The budget. Budget
It
committee.
is, what budget?
Okay, a roll call.
Councilmembers Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots. Yes. Schiff.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Dodd.
Yes.
Lisa Perry, thanks.
Update on pending projects. Pending is in the process. As you can see, you have Greenland Ave, $230,000 DOT grant, paid end-to-end. July, I think, paid out that?
Yes.
Water tank painting.
The valve discussion, what we had to do is, Holden Mofowski has basically an action plan in place. Butler is going to coordinate their efforts. They're going to open up their valves on their side, open them up, bleed them out, make sure that they work, shut them off, and then we're going to do the same. I said, let's make sure the Butler's good first, because I have a sneaky suspicion I'm a little concerned on this side of the river. But in either case, that was supposed to happen Tuesday of this week. It got stalled because there was a conflict on the Butler side, but this should happen within before the next.
This has to go out to bid again. This hasn't been bid in years, right?
We will have to
There's a
go out,
professional service.
they'll have to go out for a professional service, but
RFP or the actual bid?
I think it's just an RFP, because the concept is to hire a contractor to come in, paint and paint only. Come in, facilitate the tank, paint it, and leave. But we're going to get that report shortly.
We need to get this done by the end of the summer.
Oh, absolutely.
Interior or exterior?
Exterior. Well, they'll do a coating on the inside, but we'll be good.
We need, this
This
is on the
will be
table.
done before the snow falls.
Well, I want it done before.
Yeah, but you got to remember, the time. It's going to happen in September.
I know, but it's 10 years old.
I got it.
And John, the money for this was already been...
It's already
been
funded.
reserved.
already funded, sitting
We've
there.
had it for years.
Ridiculous. All right, facility snagging, Chairman Miller of the Flood Committee gave that report already. Oakwood Lake project, as you know, we were awarded $100,000 from the county to continue a non-paver sidewalk at Oakwood Lake, and the contract came in, low bid was $52,000. So I stopped the engineer today on some, looking at some other options to do more. Again, it's just
you're a little late in the game to be making that kind of recommendation, but we've got about 30 grand minus soft costs left to do. You can do a 10% change order on it, but I'm thinking now of extending possibly the playground, a little more benches, a little more circular walkway areas in there, but that project was, a little bit, we should be awarding that at our next meeting. Okay. Sloan Park project, again, Chairman Miller gave that update as far as where we are on the engineer on that one. For those after the meeting, I do have the map design of the Sloan Park repair. It's kind of neat. I'll go over with you later. Lighting on Walter T. Bergen, that is a awarded contract, July 15th start date, finished in 3 to 4 weeks. Sloan Park Playground, as Mr. Della Ripa just gave us during the meeting, we had authorized, and it has been done, the cleaning of the park, the large debris. DPW has to get in there and just cut the grass and weed whack for now. But at the same time, we are telling the DEP we're getting rid of active recreation, doing passive recreation in that park. I thought the best place for the playground was the Walter T. Bergen School. It was just a matter of the best placement happened to be outside the lease agreement. The best placement for those who can visualize the John Lisa Memorial Field.
Thank you.
As you're walking in to the left, you have that wooded area where there's that wooden flat build character board thing. In front of that, okay, is the best spot for it. We got a cost of $1,000 to move that, which can be paid for by we still have $40,000 on the Walter T. Bergen project. To move that, mulch that, and we have that permission. I know it's a work session, but I'd like to take action on that. We have a resolution from the Board of Ed to amend the interlocal agreement to allow us to place that exactly in that spot.
Could I ask you where that spot is? Would that
Behind the
interfere?
backstop.
But would that
Behind-
interfere at all with the discussion we had on the restrooms?
No.
If the restrooms were,
There's still room.
there's still
If we
room?
can get permission to the restrooms on that end, there's still
Okay.
room.
Where are you? You're putting it over
Walking from the front wall down to the back of it,
on the left. That's where the transformer is going to be for the lights.
I had the light design when we looked at placement. It's a big area. The whole area is 100 by 60.
How close is it going to be to that one little shed
It's
there?
gonna be, mulch bed.
No, how close is it to the shed?
It's on the inside of the trees. You have the shed, the whole tree patch. And it's gonna be on the parking lot side.
Behind it. The transformer is right there by the
The shed,
shed.
it's not even near.
Closer to the bicycle rack?
Yeah.
Yes. And the Board of Ed agreed with that site. I met with them last week. Okay, so we'll make it a way, we'll do a resolution. Jane, I hate to do it without comparing, we just copied theirs. Resolution 2012, 6.3, 5. Moving playground to Walter T. Bergen, accepting the amendment interlocal lease agreement between the Board of Ed and the Borough. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second? Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmembers Tomato,
Yes.
Toots,
Yes.
Schiffman,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Yazdi,
Yes.
Cochran.
Jane, I'll give this to you, review with our attorney, and we have to amend that lease agreement. Okay, thank you. Introduction of bond ordinance. We're just introduced by title. Introduced bond ordinance number 10, 2012, road paving project. This is introduction by title, based on our last meeting, listing the borough roads we discussed paving through the co-op, which were, again, Jeffries, Knowles, Raffman, and section of Morse Lakes from Raffman to Buena Vista. Town roads. The only town roads we're talking about. Total cost for all those, you all had the estimate last year, linear footage was $300,000 through the co-op. We're using $50,000 from our capital portion of our budget, Ray, which leaves $30,000 in the 10th budget for capital projects. These are roads that we all know are in dire need. So this is just introduction by title. Do I have that motion?
So moved. Second.
authorizing various road paving projects in the borough. Okay, so, second and final, I will make the 26th and our one and only meeting in July. That's fine. Because we'll get an office built out. Okay? You good? I'm sorry, roll call?
Did you get a second on it?
Yes.
Councilmembers Patuch.
Yes.
Schiffman.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Before we go on to the professional service contract, in our book under new business was the bid packet recommendation with the resolution to award Oakwood Lake. All right, so I had a discussion before when the agenda was first made. This was before we received, this is dated June 11th, which was yesterday, from our attorney. Okay, as I stated, $52,031. So you know what I'm going to do? We'll wait till formal action on emergency items, so the public will have an opportunity to speak if they want to. Okay. It wasn't on the agenda. It's in your book, though. Item M is approving contract for professional services for Scott Holsizer. Ted, you want to explain this, please?
Yeah, we use a professional to assess or evaluate property when may be in contention. This originally was submitted with Ryan Townsend's reval process, but it didn't make the approval of the council, but it's part and parcel of it. So for us to facilitate tax liens or any of the processes of it, I have to have a retained expert on staff. And that's why there's two agreements before you folks to approve.
Again, we are just authorizing what already exists. There's nothing new. Scott Holsizer is paid a flat fee of $5,000 for real estate appraisals, consulting appraiser servicing provided to the borough. It's already there, we're just memorializing that professional service contract. So,
It's already in the budget.
it was in the reval.
Reval process. We identified that cost when we put that number together, which is spread over.
We voted on hiring, but we never memorialized it by contract. So I need authorization so I can sign this contract.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please. I'm sorry? We have a second? I have the motion. Accept the agreement.
Okay, that's fine.
No, just the agreement. Wait a minute, no, there is a resolution.
So that's 6.6.
2012 6.6, authorizing this contract with Scott Holsizer.
Okay. Councilmember Schiffman.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Patuch.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor?
Yes.
We have to add P because the confusion was Azalino and the Sunshell
Right.
LLC got confused that it was part and parcel of the same property. We were talking about 15 Birch Court, and now we're talking about First Street.
Right, that's fine.
So,
I'll have to
there's
go-
a resolution made, prepared by Fred. This is ready to go. The cost is, for the purchase, is $10,000.
Right. But it was not on agenda for public to have discussion, so I'm going to hold P and also Oakwood Lake Award, have early public comment on those two items, and then we'll come back and do that. Second and final reading and consideration adoption of ordinances 2007, 2012. It was tabled. Well,
Yeah.
we're going to eventually amend it and reintroduce. So do we did...
Fred recommended putting 2 meetings up to give us some time for it.
Right, but we already introduced, tabled it last meeting. Do we need to take formal action because we introduced, or will it just die? I thought it would just die.
I think this is
Right.
correct.
Okay.
I mean, she want to put
We're going to
date or?
No, we're going to... Councilor Yazdi's going to have to work with Fred on the amendments to the ordinance,
And then you'll
and then we'll
reintroduce.
reintroduce. Okay. Second and final reading on ordinance 8, 2012,
fee for summer junior police academy. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News. Copies available to the public, and a motion may be made and read by title.
And can I have a motion to read by title?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
An ordinance amending section 2-80 of ordinance 13, 2011 of the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale to include the fee charged for municipal service of summer junior police academy.
And thank you. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 8, 2012 fee schedule for summer junior police academy, please come up. Say your name and address for the record. See no one, motion to close.
So moved.
Do I have a second to close public hearing? All in favor? Now I need a motion to adopt 8, 2012 fee for summer junior police academy.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Councilmember Shortman. Yes. Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Mother.
Yes.
Toots. Yes. Schiffman.
Yes.
Okay, now we're ordinance 9, 2012, bond ordinance number 15, 2012, Woodward Ave. We introduced the final amendment to clear that bond for that paving project. And public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News. Copies available to the public, and a motion may be made that it be read by title.
And someone make that motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Bond ordinance amending ordinance 15-2010, providing for the reconstruction of Woodward Avenue in and by the Borough of Bloomingdale, and the County of Passaic, New Jersey, appropriating $175,000, therefore and including a grant to the amount of $150,000 expected to be received from the State of New Jersey Department of Transportation, and authorizing the issuance of $166,000 bonds or notes to the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
And suggestion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to bond ordinance 9, 2012, 15, I'm sorry, bond ordinance 15, 2012, ordinance 9, 2012. Woodward Ave, please come up, state your name and address for the record. See no one, motion to close.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Mother.
Yes.
Toots. Yes. Schiffman.
Yes.
Short. Yes.
Thank you. Item O, offer from Borough Butler for sale of a bucket truck. What I know, and I'll refer to you in a moment, our bucket truck's in poor shape, I think, which was an old Butler truck. Requires annual or so often inspection on the lifts and the bucket itself, whereas our cost to inspect our current truck, I think, is more than what it would cost to buy this new used one from Butler. So what were the costs today?
Currently, the borough has, I don't have the exact year in front of me, but that truck's got to be 20-plus years old. Butler has a truck that they took out of service. They offer that truck to us for $10,000. Rocco did some research during his term when Al was out, and we probably could recoup $4,500 back out of our bucket truck when we sell it out. It, for all intents and purposes, my point is to ask the council that if I have the $10,000 revenue funds at the current not to exceed, I would ask the council to approve, to allow me to purchase this $10,000 bucket truck from Butler, which is in great shape, which would serve the borough probably another 10, 15 years, like the last one we bought from them. But we've cycled this through, and the authority to sell our soon-to-be used truck to somebody else.
And the money for this is coming down. I guess we gotta make the motion. I'll make the motion, so moved.
Right. The motion on the table is second. Then we'll have for discussion, guys.
Yeah. I made the motion. Need a second.
I'll second.
So my question is, the money.
There is a capital-funded bond that we have that Sherry says if the council approves it, there's $10,000 for that purchase.
So money's there.
The money's there.
It's not going to- okay.
It's not coming out of current.
That was an old bond ordinance from Eagles?
Yes.
where we just bought the DPW van from? And 10,000, but we're gonna get,
And it will recoup money when we sell.
so our net should be 6,000 to 7,000.
We should spend $5,000, $6,000 to make this deal complete, but just the inspections alone, because it's a bucket truck and you have to have all the hydraulics checked and everything, it's served its purpose. We got a good deal from Butler the last time, I'm confident we'll get a good deal from Butler this time.
Do we have to have this truck inspected?
This truck,
That's
it meets
coming
the
in.
criteria right now.
It will eventually.
It will eventually, but it's not due now.
It's not due, that's my question.
And Mr. Lehman was kind enough to keep this vehicle in his garage, and he called me today and said, make a decision. Here today, gone tomorrow.
And what would be a turnaround on the other one?
Pardon me?
What would be the turnaround on the old one?
It's currently down because the water pump shot. We're putting a water pump on it. Once we get the water pump installed, I'll be looking to gut deals or some auction site to sell that vehicle off once the council approves it.
Again, our bucket truck is used often. Tree work, nature work, public events, the motion on the table. I'm sorry?
So we're basically borrowing this money, even though we have a bond.
No, we're not borrowing any money. It's already funded.
It's an all capital bond for automobiles.
But if you don't use the bond money, you don't pay interest on it, correct? We don't pay for it. We only pay for something when we touch the money.
Sitting there.
Let me reword it. We have money there, but if you don't use it, you don't pay it. Am I correct? How much money do we have left with it?
I don't have the account for it, but this capital bond is funded.
It's funded already.
You're referring to a unfunded capital ordinance where we would borrow the money. Right now, this isn't one of these ones where we've authorized the debt. This is a funded capital bond that we have sitting. This money sits in this fund for just exactly this purpose.
You're paying interest on it, you don't pay the principals. Right? We're still paying interest on the money.
This is a
You're
funded,
paying principal and interest. It's a loan. You borrowed money, you gotta pay it back. You're already paying
It's
it
funded,
back.
it's funded.
It's funded.
It's already funded. Roll call.
What do you think?
Councilmembers Conklin.
It's not.
Tomato.
Yes?
Toots.
Yes.
Schiffman.
No.
Sharp.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There are 4 items that I'm going to announce that are not on the agenda, so in fairness, again, and transparency, I want to refer, open public comment, if anyone wants to speak to any of these items, and then take action. The first one is the award of Oakwood Lake project, again, county-funded, $100,000, the award was $52,000 for awarding that contract. We have to declare Rafkin Road, awarding a contract for Rafkin Road sewer service repairs. This was the sinkhole, correct?
so this is a
The sinkhole
backup.
is on the
This
entrance.
was a backup.
Oh, backup?
Where we hit
home,
Right.
we're lost out, okay?
So,
So we don't have the number yet from advance, but the work's been done. We just have to declare it an emergency in order to get that done. Again, that was a clean out on Rafting Road. Oakwood Lake we're going to do. We're going to do an award of a land deal. The governing body authorized the borough attorney to negotiate, prepare contracts for the sale of the land on the end of First Street for a cost of $10,000 to get another revenue to the borough. And then we also have a resolution for emergency appropriations amending the temporary budget. You will all have a copy in your book. Again, pay the bills. We're amending salary and wages under the clerk. Jake, keep the lights on. Finance, planning board, police, dispatch, road sanitation, recreation, senior center, and court. Again, these are all amending the current temporary budget. So, anyone from the public, I would need a motion to open public comment.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone wish to speak to any of those 4 items? Please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, I have a motion to close.
So move.
Second.
favor? Okay, so the first order of business is Resolution 2012 6.7, declaring an emergency for purposes of awarding contract for Rafkin Road Sewer Service repair. Do I have that? Again, it was an emergency done.
We don't have the, we haven't got the bill.
We got to declare it an emergency.
All I can do is declare.
Our sewer line, advanced plumbing went out, we need to declare an emergency.
Back to you into the people's house.
Oh, the work's been done. You have to, that's why you declared an emergency, so we can pay his bill.
I'm not voting on anything that. We don't
Give us a bill.
All you're doing is declaring an emergency.
Oh, okay.
You're just acknowledging that there was an emergency at that location. You have not approved any bill.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? And a roll call, please.
Councilmember Tomato.
Yes.
Toots. Schiffman.
Yes.
Shortman. Yes. Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Resolution 2012 6.8, Borough Bloomingdale Emergency Resolution to amend temporary appropriations to the current fund, total amount of $600,350. This is again just amending the temporary budget to pay salary and wages.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Toots.
Yes.
Schiffman.
Yes.
Shortman. Yes. Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Then we have Resolution 2012 6.9, authorizing award of contract for Oakwood Lake sidewalk and curb improvements to Sefeli & Son General Contracting for Coppola Street, Nutley, New Jersey, amount of $52,031.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Again, this is a county grant, no cost to the borough, and we have additional funds we're hoping to spend out. That's a great price. Okay, and that project's been on the table. We got that money last year. Roll call.
Councilmember Schiffman.
Yes.
Shortman. Yes. Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
Next item is Resolution 2012 6.10, a resolution for the Borough of Bloomingdale authorizing the sale of certain land in accordance with NJS 40A-1213-5. Again, this is Block 31, Lot 9, commonly known as the First Avenue Fill, for a sale price of $10,000 to Song Shell LLC. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to know what a quick claim deed is.
I'm sorry.
Quick claim deed, you mean?
Quit, Q-U-I-T.
Quick claim deed.
Yes.
Where are you reading the contract? For the resolution?
Resolution, number 5.
Number 5. Down at the
The
bottom.
conveyance by the borough shall be made in way of a quit claim deed.
I know the definition off the top of my head.
Well, what we're doing, this is a continuous piece of existing lot and block. We are subdividing just this portion, and we're going to have to issue a claim deed on for the new owners. We're selling the land.
Just get a deed to the property and a piece of the property.
Again, it's going to be deeded to the new owner upon completion of the contract. Council, can we move forward, and then the attorney can answer that question on the definition of quit, but it is just deeding it to the owner. New one. Any further discussion?
I'd also like them to put in markers as to where their property begins and ends. I know we have a survey that we got. Not us.
They worked it out, but would you want to incur additional cost to have DMC?
No, I'd like them to do it.
We have a contract.
We didn't pay DMC to do this. We
Yes, you
did.
did.
We did, we paid $1,000.
Right, why would you do
It's
this?
already stated there, we negotiated the contract, we're not going to go back and
I
say
just
no.
want to be sure that this property doesn't extend any further than what we're selling presently.
Right.
The means and bounds are going to be.
They're going to be defined now, you have a survey on it.
We had means and bounds before
We
the
did not.
book was created.
We do not, for that specific piece. Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Shortman.
Abstain.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots.
No.
Schiffman.
Yes.
Thank you. I need a motion to open late public comment.
So moved.
Anyone, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak, late public comment, please come up, state your name, address for the record. Oh, I was a betting man. How are you?
Kind of like Iosco. It never ceases to amaze me.
Me either.
This legal representative didn't know what a claim deed was. Shocked the living man.
I can tell you what it is right now,
Okay. That shocked me. That-
because I didn't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. That's a fundamental term, but anyway.
Okay.
Union Ave is classified as a commercial, all of Union Ave. Most of that Union Ave, commercial.
Yeah, a good part of it.
Okay.
Office professional.
When you do the recycling, it has to be on a commercial piece of property.
When we do our recycling
The
center,
recycling center.
well, it would have to be in a zone that conforms with the use. Right.
You're negotiating with Avalon Bay now for certain things. Is it very possible, and you can extend this theory, instead of using, and you can negotiate for part of that area and give them a percentage, and you take a percentage, in other words, use recycling area, and you're going to have a lot of tenants there that are going to be able to utilize it by foot without using, but no, you're shaking your head.
No room on that site.
You're sure?
Oh, wow.
Okay, so let's look at another site. Let's not say you have to own the property. Can't you do a percentage with someone else?
I'm sure we could. If it's not in the Highlands, it doesn't need to be paved. I just don't know it's in location.
Okay, but that would solve the problem of not utilizing the senior center. In other words, or,
If you think it's a problem.
I don't, I think they're less group. But I'm trying
So
to
then maybe
solve
it's
the
not a
problem.
problem.
It's not a problem for me now. But that's one suggestion. The second suggestion is you just sold a piece of property. Is there any properties available that you can use that taxes are doing a small piece of property?
No, we have about 6 or so, no, this property we just sold
I'm
is 20
just-
feet by 60 feet.
These
It's not-
are just
No,
questions.
no, and I appreciate your comment, but that has been explored. We have, the borough is currently in the process of foreclosing on various, we've stated it publicly many times, maybe 6 to 10 properties that we've secured by tax lien, we're looking to foreclose, so we stop getting taxed to the county and the board of ed on property that we really don't foreclose on. They're all postage stamp lots.
I don't know that, but I'm just, if it were possible. I think.
There are offers, but I can't get into too much now, from residents who have unbuildable lots that are offering to the borough in lieu of taxes, because they'll give it to us. Things we're going to talk about, actually, tonight. Can't get more detail than that, but knowing those properties, you know, one is entirely wetlands and one is smack dab in the middle of a residential area. So, you know, it's all been explored, you know, as far as those kind of things. The Avalon Bay thing, not big enough, and that's not going to be built out and cut a ribbon until probably September 2013.
You want to do that?
Correct.
The budget, is that going to be open? Any discussions to the public?
Absolutely. I plan on having meetings to go through it line by line and explaining the whole thing. At this point, what you know, if I explained it to you, I would scare the hell out of the public. So I'd rather get closer to a comfortable position or a no-choice position to then go through it.
Well, we do have, on June 26th is a public hearing on what we introduced. So people are going to be able to get, if you want to come to the borough, I'll get a copy of the budget and ask questions. But we're not going to adopt it on the 26th. We're not close to adopting.
And on the shared services and street sweeping, what concerned me the most was there's checks and balances here. You're here to look at the paperwork that Ted's areas, the people that work for the community. You're the checks, the balance to what's being done. So if there's no, if Linda didn't get paperwork to say, it's going to cost, it's going to take this man 10 hours at this salary with this is the bottom line, net, this is what we're saving. But how can she make a decision without knowing the facts? How could she have voted on it without knowing? she was absolutely correct by asking, what is the bottom line? I look at the bottom line at everything. Show me a piece of paper and give me the pros and the cons of the bottom line.
And I appreciate your comments. I look at it as I had my department head, with that as his field, do exactly that and present this to the boroughs. You cannot calculate the payroll and the benefits as an existing employee.
You're right, there's intangibles.
So when I say it's $12,000 and I'll get you the gas, the fuel expense and the wear on the brushes expense, then everyone should be content to adopt this on June 26th. Those are the only expenses you're going to incur.
Your breakdown. But it has to be supported. You need a piece of paper to say, this man at this salary with everything else. Then you can vote on it, but you can't vote on an intangible.
But Mark's comment was based on this person's street sweeping 8 hours in one day. That's not occurring.
No, he did his calculations correctly. He did it on 7 months. You did it on 7 months.
Right, doing it
Once a week.
He did it.
28 times, 7 months.
Like how many hours, you said it was
It was an all-day thing, wasn't it?
No,
Was it?
that's
what we don't know, because no one gave us any, information.
I would make my decision based on the facts that were presented.
And that information will be in front of the governing body prior to the 26th, and I hope they move on this revenue opportunity.
It's just that, if I can't, if you just look at the piece of paper and see what's going on, it's a heck of a lot easier than pulling numbers from this guy. Thank you.
Ms. Conley, you're not wrong, okay? You're not wrong, but here's what I'm going to The thing that bothers me the most, 2 meetings in a row, revenue-generating ideas come up, and people are getting punished for it because it wasn't discussed, it wasn't given in a perfect fashion. If that piece of paper was in front of everyone, we would have still had that discussion, we would have still had that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we would have, I can see a piece of paper also, it could be on the agenda. This is the breakdown.
It's a negotiation, it's not.
Here's the way I look at things. I'm paying X today, and I'm going to pay X minus after it's done. It's simple. And I know cost of brush is not $12,000. It's not simple.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Jack Miller, revamp. 2 things. I want to commend everybody for a couple meetings before this one of the time, how quick you've been moving along. With that said, directing this to you, Mayor, how come you're big on committees, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. You set up a committee for this sweeping thing.
No, for shared services.
Okay, all right. And something fell through the cracks where the right people weren't notified about it. You got heads up, maybe notify the people about it. We sat here for 45 minutes talking about it, where if you would have went through your committees that you set up, it would have been 5 or 10 minutes and we would have been done with it.
If you believe that, then I thank you for your comments.
I believe that.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Al Miller, 7 Mary Street. Just echo the same people just said. I think Mr. Schiffman, Linda Shortman, Mark Cobb brought up some good points because of this movie. I think it's something that should be discussed with the whole council. Everybody should have time to review it before there's a forced vote on something that has to happen tonight. I just have a question related to the budget. Is there a law, is there a date by law we have to have a proposed budget?
It has to get in toward November before state council takes over.
But there are occasions and conditions that forces town to wait longer.
Beyond November?
Well, no, I would say, well, I've never been faced with the challenge of getting past November. We've come whispering close, but not to November. After you get past November, Houston, we have a problem.
Now, I'm sorry, the June 26th date, you mentioned something about a public meeting for the budget?
Right, because we introduced, by law, we introduced the budget.
Okay.
And in so many days, we advertised that on June 26th will be a public hearing.
Okay.
We have to have that public hearing.
Okay.
But we will not, normally you would have a public hearing and then finally adopt the budget. We'll have the hearing because we have to, but we will not adopt.
And let me just explain, the reason why we hold it up is that we have certain criteria, certain conditions that may fund this budget. So if we went out and adopted this budget right now and said, this is our budget, and this revenue came in later, now I can't put the genie, so to speak, back in the bottle. So the reason why we're holding is to see if these revenue sources come in, offset our operating costs, and then set that budget at that level. And if that works, hooray. If it doesn't work, this is what Mr. Yazdi is referring to, that we have to make some adjustments on how we're going to facilitate that and make that work. Because the one thing we have to do is we have to meet the cap. And the cap is 2% of whatever last year's budget.
That's the law. So now, just not to go into great detail, what's going to be discussed on June 26th? To what level of expenses, budget money, what do we have to pay, what's left? What detail we go
Basically, you know, where we are, going through it, here's where we are, here's where our numbers look like. Ms. Shortman seems to have had a meeting, and she knows that it's at 120. I haven't been at that
She
meeting.
said 180.
180.
I never heard that either.
I have never heard that, so she must have had a meeting.
I'm encouraged.
Okay, that was, but hey, I'm happy about it, right, so hopefully the auditor will come in and take us through it, how we get to 180, and then.
The auditor's here on the 26th?
Yeah.
He's part of the presentation. Should be here.
It's a public hearing, so anyone interested, the public could come to Borough Hall, get the budget,
Okay.
and that night ask specific questions pertaining to the budget.
Okay, now when will that budget be available for us to get copies? We want to have a copy before the meeting.
Right now.
Is there available once we introduce it?
Couple months ago.
Is it on the website?
It's on the website.
It's a big document though, so you're probably better off.
Yeah, I don't do the whole thing.
But my point was, I'm sure, so we're going to field those questions. I'm sure Councilman Yazdi, as budget chair, will give an overview.
Okay.
Here's anticipated revenue, where we are today. Here's expenses to show why we're 500,000 over the cap. And then we'll talk about what's going to help that. Avalon Bay, this project, we're hoping we'll realize these permits in the next month to offset most of that.
Let me ask you, the Avalon Bay, is it a townhouse or the apartment?
Apartments, high rent, court order approval.
I'm assuming that somebody goes through an analysis as far as how many apartments, children to attend, school costs, all that's calculated into what's going to be left?
The project itself is court order. It was not approved locally. I mean, it's a lot of history here. There was, before pretty much any of our time,
Okay.
the developer, because the town never built any affordable housing in Bloomingdale, we lost our certification, which is protection from being sued by builders. This particular builder, just like the one across the street on Federal Hill, actually, the one on Federal Hill sued first. Avalon Bay had joined that lawsuit. They both sued and got permission to build these two projects.
I want to say two projects, Avalon Bay and Federal Hill?
Yeah, that's across the street. They don't have a buyer yet, so that's probably within the next year or so. So Avalon Bay is, 2 bedrooms, high-end rental. I mean, they'll tell you statistically, 38% is single female, 32% is single male, minimal school children, 2-bedroom, kind of professional units.
I mean, net, are we looking to make any revenue on it?
Well, here's, what we're anticipating this year, there's 2 variables. There's the permit fees,
Okay.
and then there was a litigation matter we settled, combined for $500,000, just the permit fees. Those are one-time fees. So they don't solve the problem up for this year. When they install sewer and water, we're realizing about $1.2 million in utility fees, which I want to invest directly into our utility. We need the investment.
Don't pay us.
Fees, these are just fees by ordinance. Our ordinance doesn't require so much per tapping fee and connection, all of the fees for utility and construction, electrical, each unit needs a permit. Then there's the taxes, okay? And the taxes is something that is being discussed now at the planning board level with a couple ways we can look at. The borough can realize anywhere from, $250,000 to $800,000. We don't know that number yet. In taxes, and that's the forever income each year.
Right, I'm going.
So you only know your cost of services less than that. But it was court order, which is
No choice.
we're no choice, so let's make it the best we can.
Okay, thank you.
Right? Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Denise Miller, 7 Mary Street. You stated Al Gallagher, the department head, this is back to the shared services.
Yes.
Figured out the numbers.
Yes.
Should the numbers be incorrect after you pass this agreement and sign into the agreement? Should the figures be wrong, who's going to be held accountable for wrong figures? Should they be more than?
Well, you mean that our cost to provide the service It's
is going
actually
to
more
be
than
more to
12,000?
the taxpayers
Okay,
there.
I mean, who would, that individual would be responsible, would be accountable, but then we would be able to opt out or opt out of the contract or amend it if that was to occur. The exposure to the borough is fuel. Okay, and wear on the brushes. We already own the truck, we already employ the employee. There's no additional exposure but those two things, and as Councilman Yazdi said, I'm confident without, that much detail, but we will get it so the council's more comfortable, that fuel and brushes will not exceed $12,000 annually.
Okay, now what happens if the machine breaks down, that we don't have, like we're in a situation now, we don't have the money to repair it? What happens to the agreement?
Well, but we already provide the service for our own residents. We own the truck, and we already provide the service for Ponte Lake, so that has to be funded to repair that truck.
Now, were the two housing developments figured in as far as the DPW working for Ponte Lakes and Riverdale, sweeping their streets versus picking up garbage and
Private
things?
community, they're going to be private community.
They're going to be private communities?
They'll have their own sanitation, their own.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Anyone else? Seeing no one, motion to close.
So
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we will be entering into executive session with 9 matters of negotiation. Consideration of executive session business. We will allow public comment prior to doing so. Any motion to go into executive session? So moved. 10:15. All in favor? Aye.